expertly. You brought Macath the Crimson back, an expert on the Dracorn, as you were assigned to do. Brought her back down to Waterdeep. You have, taken some time. Terrence to deal with his flock. Uh, Terrence to deal with his new kobold admirer. Um, Terrence with doing his consecration to the temple. He's a busy guy. He's a popular guy in Waterdeep. Yeah, everybody just kind of settling in. To which the second session of the Council of Waterdeep was called upon returning. It is also, of course, worth remembering that Macath required the return of the Arcane Brotherhood information to the Host Tower in Luskin, which you all did in good faith, and have earned the allegiance of the Arcane Brotherhood as allies, and who will fight alongside you in the war to come, or in the current war, I guess it's happening. Yeah, as you return back to Waterdeep in the Council, a number of very dramatic things. The first of which is it seems that Daygult Neverember, the open Lord of Waterdeep, has been dethroned. It seems by the will of the Council of Waterdeep, or by the will of Waterdeep itself, that Laurel Silverhand was elected the new open Lord of the city, and Daygult Neverember got the boot. He's still the Lord Protector of Neverwinter and thus relevant to the Council, but he is clearly unhappy about his demotion. That is quite a pedestal to be stepped down from. Laurel Silverhand now sits as the leader of the Council of Waterdeep and called it to session. Many of the delegates of the Council seem to give reports of widespread chaos. The cult of the dragon is hiding themselves no longer and have turned the Sword Coast into a battleground. War is prevalent. Villages, hamlets, places like Greenest are bouldering ruins in some cases. Clouds of fire and dragons attack. It seems that war and raids are in full throttle, and the people of Sword Coast are caught in the middle of their greed for the return of their evil goddess. Moving onward from that, many of the councilors were very happy about the return of Baron the White alive. The Emerald Enclave, none too pleased, thinking that the legal system is only a waste of time and excessive, and only opening the door for attempted rescue or escape. However, your accumulation of the Arcane Brotherhood and Macath the Crimson was also met with great pleasure, except for Onthar Frum of the Order of the Gauntlet, who was a little displeased that such a unregulated cabal of evil wizards is someone they have to work with now. Did not sit well with the highly moralized Order of the Gauntlet. And two things came up about future possible things to do. The first of which, it seems that Delenn Winterhound of the Emerald Enclave is unhappy with the situation in the Misty Forest. It seems that the elves have been attacked frequently by the Cult of the Dragon, and though King Melindrock believes that the attacks have stopped due to the increased security and patrols, Delenn remains highly skeptical, and seems at unease. It might be worth talking to him and seeing what's going on. Alternatively, there seems to be a new guest to the Council of Waterdeep. A woman who went by the name of Elia, who quickly revealed herself within the session to be a famous silver dragon, an ancient protector of the mortal races. Autor Lecramos is her name. And she has invited representatives of the Council of Waterdeep to come to essentially a council of the greatest metallic dragons, meet and see if the humanoid races are worth working alongside. It'll be up to you to convince the metallic dragons of the Sword Coast and maybe the world beyond to join in the fight with you. That is pretty much where we ended off last session. So, as you all sit around here, Terrence having had a word with Council of Waterdeep, Yella having made mention to this silver dragon envoy that she is in alliance with this black dragon that did not seem to sit well with her, considering she took Erebir aside and said, hey, maybe consider what happens when you're dead. It'll probably kill everybody, so, be careful on that. and seemed to insist that you should be cautious about, bringing an evil dragon to a council of metallic dragons. Might not go well. Um, and that is where we pick up today. You guys are still in Castle Waterdeep. Still many people to talk to, much to be done. It's up to you what you would like to do. So, please, Dragon's Bane. What's next? Oh, one last little detail I'll put forth before we continue. The dragon who has dubbed herself Elia in human form stated that if you meant to attend the dragon meeting, the dragon council immediately, she'd be willing to fly you there on her back. So that's like, if you do this now, get my help. If not, you'll have to make your own way there. So, just as a reminder.
Could I check in with Romalia?
Yeah, sure. You find your way over to Romalia, who, if as ever, is hanging out with Leosin, who is at her beck and call. The beautiful lady Remy, to her friends Haventry, greets you, and she sort of curtsies very elegantly. This lady of Waterdeep, and hi, Harper. Sabrosa, good to see you again.
Lady Romalia, it's nice to see you as well. Um, I thought I would just sort of touch base and see where you yourself and the Harpers fall on all this. We've got quite the earful of news today.
It is. It seems that Dagult, Lord Dagult, put together this meeting with this dragon woman, or at least was contacted by her. It's surprising and quite assuring. These metallic dragons, wishing possibly to join with us, would be very beneficial to have such a magnificent force for good on their side.
So
Um,
the
yes.
Harpers feel like that's an avenue worth pursuing.
Uh, I see what you're doing. Give me half a second to make sure I'm getting all the info right here. Um, she says, um, sorry. She says, "Oh, without a doubt in my mind. I couldn't imagine a single counselor who would be unhappy to have the metallic dragons on our sides, of course."
I see. Um, and any other comings or goings around the court that the Harpers would be interested in knowing more about?
About the metallic dragons.
In
Well,
general.
things we'd like to know more of. Information is power, and in this war, we'll take all we can get. Do you know what your party is inclined, or she doesn't know about any of that. She would say, well, if
Yeah.
you're going to the metallic dragons, I suppose any information you have about them would be valuable. It's always good to keep an eye on such magnificent beasts, forces for good or not.
That does appear, at least as far as I can tell, to be the favored uh, immediate option.
Yes. I admit I haven't seen Delon Winterhound so anxious. Perhaps finding out what he seems to believe is wrong exactly would be useful. It's unfortunate that the King Melendrock sought fit to shut him down.
My understanding is that the Dragon's Bane has quite a few inroads inside the what's it called? The forest.
The Misty Forest.
Yeah, inside the Misty Forest. I'm sure that particular area won't fall off our radar.
That's good to hear. It's certainly not. There are some Harpers who are quite capable in the wilds, but it is certainly the domain of the Emerald Enclave to be where they are. We're stretched thin, we Harpers, trying to protect the innocent, gather information, scout all of these things. So much damage has been done. There's only so many of us.
Well, I'm out here and happy to share when I'm back in town.
Most appreciated, yes. Um, and she'll say, "Well, if you'll excuse me, there's some business I must attend. But thank you for ever your patience and good knowledge. You've muted yourself.
Until we meet again.
Until we meet again." And she'll curtsy to you and sort of wander to one of the other counselors to do a little politicking of her own. Anybody else have anything they'd like to do with the counselors, the delegates?
Well, since Ciela was sort of left to her own devices, can I go talk to Delon?
Certainly. You kind of wander away as Aravir is taken aside by the dragon individual. Um, uh, Star, I'm gonna say that you've popped up at this point. You've sort of like showed up at the party late a little bit. Um, and maybe are lucky enough, like maybe we'll say Real Nightshade sort of walks over to you, the Zentrim representative, and she'll sort of say, "Oh, I was wondering what happened to you," and she'll just kind of like give you the update, and we'll come to your conversation in a second. I just want to fill in Ciela with her thing. Like, we'll come right back to you, I promise. Ciela, yeah, you find your way over to Dagald, who, as ever, is sort of like leaning off in the corners, kind of, but he looks a little less like wallflowery and more like concerned. You see his finger tapping slightly. He's just kind of he's out of sorts.
There's something
You
you need to.
approach.
Yep. Is there something that's on your chest you want to get off?
Suppose so. Suppose there's few better to talk to about it than, well, you and your party.
Mm.
Yes, I'm rather very concerned, actually. I'm quite happy to hear King Melindrock is so favorable to the situation, but the Elven enclaves are many of them are in ruins and tatters in the Misty Forest. I have been dealing with the king's son, and he has been most helpful and agrees with me that we should search for clues in the source of the raids. Um, I'm, it doesn't sit well with me. It's not always easy to explain a ranger's instinct, but I think you understand, probably,
I do.
that it doesn't sit well, it doesn't sit right. Many of the Emerald Enclave are feeling that there is a greater threat behind these raids in the Misty Forest, and as I said, I work with the king's son, and he agrees. He knows his territory better than anyone.
Of course. And the dragon cult can easily overpower a skilled army in their sheer numbers.
You're quite right, especially the elves. You see, many of the elves of the Misty Forest, the Wood Elves, they build their homes in the treetops. The true villages are villages built into the tree boughs, which is excellent protection from land creatures, orc raids, and such. But for dragons, well, they're sitting ducks. Dragons fly in, breathe whatever elements upon them, and they have no way of escaping other than running to the next bough or lining up to try and make their way down the pulley systems. It's against dragons, they're vulnerable.
Indeed. Um, so what can we do without stepping on the king's toes?
Bypass the king. Meet with Prince Alagarthus in the Misty Forest to the north. There's a village. There's a village there to the north where he is staying. It's called Altand, and
Alton.
Altand. That's right. Perhaps Eravir might know about it. I know she has a relationship with the Misty Forest, but it might be good to investigate further. I obviously have to stay here, but the prince would know more of the situation locally than I.
And PM, was the prince's name again?
Prince, I'll post it in here, but it's Prince Aligarthus.
Okay.
Post it in the Zoom chat. Son of King Melindrock.
Oops. Okay, got it.
There are not many settlements that have actually been dragon raided within the forest, but this one where he is stationed has. I'm told it's a most peculiar situation there, but I don't know the details.
Interesting. All
It
right.
is.
Um, I understand this requires attention, urgent attention, but I believe we are going to the dragon meeting first, and I'll urge the party that we head to the Misty Forest next.
Very well. And if one thing's that I agree with Melandrocus is that the raid seems to have desisted since they have increased their patrols. It sounds like the king has bought you some time, so do with that what you will. It doesn't sound like an immediate concern, though one that troubles me, if you
Well,
understand my meaning.
he may have bought time, but at the same time, they may be rallying their forces for a bigger strike.
Agreed, indeed, just like in Greenest, where
Yeah.
they fell back but were rallying. I agree entirely.
Mhm.
But the forces of the Eldritch Knight forces of the Elves are very potent. It should buy you some time if you mean to go to the Dragon Council first.
Yes. Excellent. Well, we'll make it our first priority after the Dragon Council.
Well, it sits well with me that it is. I would hate for worse to come. The elves can be slow to act.
Mhm. Well, if we're only helping, we can't really, well, we could be angry about it, but in the long run, it'll be for the best.
There's no harm in investigating.
Mhm.
Might as well. And I am Emerald Enclave, and so are you. So if you want, you can pin it on me.
All right. If I have to, I will.
Okay. Thank you, Ciela.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sweet. And yeah, you can go your separate ways. Yeah, let me come back to you, Star. So you kind of walk into the party. Your seasickness finally revitalized. But you're like, don't worry, I'm here. And like the council's like getting up to leave, and you're like, oh, just.
Man, what
Um,
did I miss?
Rhea Nightshade will approach you and say, "There you are, little dagger in the night. It's good to see you, dear."
Hi, you.
Ah, yes, Rion Nightshade, if you had forgotten.
Yeah, hi. How did things go tonight? I was a little sick.
Well, we can't worry too much in the wake of sickness. Things are well, many things happened. Laurel Silverhand has deposed the Open Lord, Dorigold Neverember, for her own power, which is, well, I like to imagine it's quite maniacal, and that sits very well with me. But, she seems to be sitting quite well on her new throne. Fits it a little better than the old man, if you ask me, but I assume you didn't, and you didn't hear it from me either. Um, little thing about a council of metallic dragons you're all supposed to go negotiate with, and the ranger seems ill at ease, but that's pretty much what I've heard.
Oh, seems interesting. I'm pretty sure we can handle it. No worries about that. We'll be fine. Um, Anything I should be aware of before we head out that may be helpful?
Well,
As in for our for the thing that we can't talk about.
well, the thing we can't talk about, you mean, oh, you
Or
mean the fact that I'm from the Black Network and you have no idea about that sort of affiliation?
oh, maybe. Oh, is that sorry? I'm fourth walling here. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I wasn't foregoing at all. Um, she is very publicly a member of the Black Network. Like she is here for this intro. She says, "Of course, you wouldn't know of such affiliations. You'd never dabble so dark and deep."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. If you ever knew anybody of a mind to be kind and generous to my faction, well, I'm sure there's no shortage of work and loot and goodies and toys for such an individual.
Of course, of course. Yes. So I'll keep an eye out. If anything that pops up, I'll let you know.
I much appreciate you with checking in with me. It can be so lonely on this council. Everyone turns their nose at it,
I
which I don't.
know.
It's very unfortunate. But it's fine. We're being paid an exceptional sum of money for being here. I've heard that they're already beginning to figure how they're going to divvy up all the coin that they take from the dragon cult. Divided evenly, of course, which means the Zentrum will be making a king's ransom.
Sure. It'll be good. It'll be good to recruit more people afterwards too, and make sure everything goes well for our members as well for future endeavors.
Yes, of course. We're always happy for such intense acknowledgement as to be invited to the Council of Waterdeep itself. Even as a hired faction, it's still quite the acknowledgement.
For sure. I'll keep an eye out and I'll keep sending notes on the wind whenever I can.
Well, you have fun sending those notes to whoever it is you're sending them to. Unless,
Yeah,
of course, well, everyone likes to do a little bit of business with very upstanding mercenaries such as ourselves.
for sure, for sure. But yeah, no,
For sure, for
I'll
sure.
yeah, don't worry about it. I'll keep sending it to the our in between person and keep tabs. Don't worry.
Very good. I will assume at this point you two have swapped the thieves' camp, so you can talk a little more freely without talking freely. And she'll say, "Well, it is always a pleasure to meet such a unique variant of uh, Sword Coast creature as yourself, much the same as I."
Yes, yes, yes. I better start joining with the crew before they start thinking suspiciously. Um,
Of course.
of course. So Star waves his hand goodbye.
She'll kiss your knuckle.
Oh, and Star's like, "Oh, that was so nice for her." And because I don't know the actual proper term, but I'm pretty sure he probably kisses her hand back and then walks off, and then falls over because he has to look silly.
So we'll say like she goes to kiss your, which obviously she's a lady and you're a man, which is like so it's a little like a little bit of a
Odd.
role reversal. So she kind of kisses your hand, and you very like sly, being your reliable talent. You very slyly like swap it around and like kiss her back, and it's like super smooth. And anybody watching is like, "Damn, Star's pretty cool." And as you like walk away real confidently, you stub your toe and fall over and like smack your nose on the floor. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Ah." They almost had a good idea about how smooth you were, and they're like, "Okay, the world is as it should be, I guess." Um, Fantastic. Is there anything else for anyone here, or is the Dragon's Bane Company got other plans or done with here? Sounds
Uh,
like Terrence?
Anybody else? Yeah, I got one thing.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll excuse myself from. Well, first is Elia still here?
She most certainly is. Yes.
Okay, I'll excuse myself from the Order of the Gauntlet.
Okay. And he goes. All right, Terrence, off you go. And he'll send you out with your new rank of Marcon, which is worth noting. Rank 2, Order of the Gauntlet, rising the ranks quickly. And yeah, you make your way over there. You see like her walking out of the private chambers, and her and Erebir parting ways. And yeah, you can approach her.
Uh,
She will curtsy very elegantly, if a little not quite right. She's not meant to be on two legs, and she says, "It is good to see you again."
of course, I had no idea you were someone so prominent.
Well, I suppose that is the point of shapeshifting in the end.
So you need us to travel with you to convince your fellow dragons to join our cause.
Yes, there's mixed emotions about inviting the humanoid races to battle alongside us, and we thought it prudent at least to give you all the opportunity to prove yourselves worthy of such an alliance.
And at least I'll do my best to be a good representative for our people.
Indeed. We have already determined, as I've said, that we intend to do something about the dragon cult. It's just a matter of if we'll be doing it alongside all of you or not.
Well, that's good news either way.
I think so. I personally think so.
I understand that you were going to be leaving soon.
Yes. As you can imagine, I'm rather busy. Um, there's much to organize amongst dragonkind.
How much time do you think you'll be staying here?
Not long. Maybe a couple more hours at best.
I could work with that. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And then I'll hurriedly make my exit.
Okay. Okay, you go. Terrence takes off. Fantastic. We'll loop back around to you again, Terrence. Is there anything else from anybody? I believe the only person we haven't heard from is Aravir. Do you have anything you would wish to do, Aravir? I mean, okay.
I'd want to talk to King Melindrock and ask Delon to escort me home.
Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, you find King Melindrock sitting amongst his elven advisors, looking as cool as ever. And as you approach, he'll sort of stand in his regal, confident height, perfect elven grace. He'll say, Aravir.
Hi, Father. I wanted to learn more about what was happening in the Misty Forest. That's deeply concerning.
There is nothing to be concerned of. The Emerald Enclave, I suppose, has decided to pick the Misty Forest to be the subject of their paranoia. We have increased our border strength quite significantly, and these attacks that have been reported have abated. There are, even when the attacks were at their height, there are very few villages that actually suffered. So our borders are well secured.
I I don't get the sense that Delon would be worried for nothing.
Hmm. Perhaps the ranger's been out of his woods for too long.
And what of the casualties? How badly have the attacks been? Or how bad have they been?
It ranges from instance to instance. Most villages are. Ooh, you'll get that information. Hang on. Let's see here. Let me give you the direct information. Sorry. Um, sorry, one moment. Um, I've lost track of it. I apologize. Um, there are a few settlements that have ever been raided, but the ones that have been are not good. Our people have suffered great losses. Hundreds. Um, Hundreds are dead. There are not many villages that have fallen, but every village represents a couple hundred of the Elven. And though it is fewer than the lands of other people, it is enough that brings great sorrow to our forest. There has been several raids in which every man, woman, and child is slaughtered, and every parcel of wealth is taken.
Father, that sounds incredibly serious to me.
Yes, it was, which is why we have taken extra precautions to increase patrols. The Emerald Enclave has been helpful in that sense. Even your brother seems to have appeared from his journeys, his sojourn, to aid the Emerald Enclave specifically in that regard. Your, you and your siblings always were very strong-willed against my rule. It seems your brother means to make a statement in following the Enclave rather than the Elves. Regardless, we have dispatched many patrols deep into the woods, and such patrols have pushed back the dragon cult from the forest. It has been some time since there has been a raid of any kind, so my concerns are waylaid.
Would Airfair know of their tactics at Greenest? Like, is that something that would have been shared with me?
Why don't we make it? Okay, yeah. You guys have a lot of time on the road and stuff. I'm sure some stuff could have happened behind the scenes. Why don't we leave it to the dice as well, though? So we'll say yes, but we'll see how much. Roll me a history check to see, or investigation. I'll give you either. Investigation for tactics, history for the story itself.
I get a 20.
20. Let's see. Yeah, you've heard the tale quite explicitly. Their tactics were essentially overwhelming force, plain and simple. They
They had a dragon.
they had a dragon. They had a very big dragon, what the parties described. They had a blue dragon that was about the size of not the white dragon you just fought, but the other one. Um, um, So an adult blue dragon, no small amounts of like hired evil mercenaries, cultists, kobolds, basically just like an overwhelming force, just like washed over Greenest and killed anyone in their way and took any loot they could. The party managed to hold out in the fort in the middle of the town, and at a certain point, the dragon cult decided it wasn't worth it, so they just took the wealth of the town and left. But it was essentially they struck hard and they struck fast and took their time because nobody was prepared. So overwhelming forces attacking in an ambush and backed up with dragon force, which is a lot for any small village.
I'll share that with my dad then. Not our dinner. I worry for our people too.
Can't hear you, sorry.
I said just be careful. I worry for our people too.
I do as well. But I assure you every defensive tactic is being made. We need to. The complexities of military tactics is something that I did not teach you, Elvir. You have been skilled in many things, but large-scale combat and the management of a kingdom of near immortals is not something that was in your education. For, of course, it was never expected of you to rule one day.
Well, still pick up a thing or two.
Yes. Yes, it seems you have. And for that I have great pride. But let me assure you that with the current political climate, it is best to be defensive at this time. Play our cards well. So, our borders are being defended to the best of my ability, and it seems that that is well and enough, for the raids have ceased for nearly 2 weeks.
It wouldn't hurt to send scouts.
I'm sure the Emerald Enclave has sent scouts enough, and for all of their paranoia, they have no solid evidence to back up their claims that the Misty Force is still under threat, so you'll excuse me if I do not act on the will of a ranger who has been sitting around stone walls for too long.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. I forgot. They had me, I think.
Very well. And he will give you a very polite, formal, elven goodbye. And without a look back, he will return to his seat in his diplomacy, as he always has. If I can get him in the seat, of course. And we did it. Okay. And you can approach Delon Winterhound, to which you see sort of like Ciala has completed a conversation and there's walking away. And yeah, you approach it around the time Terrence like goes running out of the council chambers.
Okay. Um,
Or maybe like quick walking. He's not like it's not like a full sprint that might bring like suspicion to anybody, but like
Definitely a speed walk. Yeah.
definitely like a like that mom who's like doing some quick walking for a little.
Like the old people in the mall every Sunday morning.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it's competitive walking. You get your arms into it.
Yeah, a lot of competitive walking on the way out, a little extra, a little extra momentum. But anyway, yes, Aravir, you approach Delon, whose sort of nervous appearance sort of lightens slightly with your look. He will give you a formal elven greeting, kind of Andorana to Shon.
it's good to see you, Delan. And she'll casually touch his elbow, um, trying to look like, I don't know, he was very formal with her, but she doesn't necessarily need that.
And as you touch his elbow, he's much more emotional, instinctual. So as your arm touches his comes up and kind of holds your elbow. And he'll smile at you and say, "This castle has been colder without you."
Well, it was cold where we just came from. I'm glad to be back, and good to see you again.
I hope it does not offend to hear that there's some part of me that's joyed that you felt just as bitterly cold in my absence.
Um, maybe she gets a little tongue-tied at that, and blushes. So, wanna get out of here? I'm actually ready to head home and would love some company.
Um, Certainly. Does your party not intend to take up the Dragon's offer?
I figured we'd circle up later and chat about that. Chance to.
Oh, well, far be it for me to decide the tactics of your group. Certainly, yeah. Let me.
For what it's worth.
Yes, I'm certain I will not be missed in these halls. Let's leave.
I was curious to learn more about what's been going on in my home. Father told me a little, and it sounds terrible.
Yeah, you guys will walk out, and as you're like walking along, he will inform you. What's your passive perception?
17.
17. On the way out the door, and he opens the door for you. Your father's eyes are on you as you make such a familiar gesture with the ranger. There's no expression in his face. He just simply like acknowledges it, and as you meet his eye, like in that microsecond, he just like very, very coolly turns his attention away and back to his group. That's all.
Got caught by dad.
Oh no, I got my dad. But very coolly, very uncaringly, it seems. Just sort of turns his attention back to what he was doing, very collected. Um, and Delon will walk with you, and he'll say, "It's too my understanding that the loss of Skyreach Castle was a deep scar to the dragon cult and their ability to bring tribute to their dragon goddess. Um, I believe the Harpers believe that it is the reason for the increased raids, sort of out more in the open. Now that they do not have the Skyreach Castle system to bring treasure to their location, now they've just simply taken to outward raiding to make up for any lost time. They launched several raids on the elves of the Misty Forest specifically. They hit them the hardest, though I think Melindrak is trying to play it down. Um, let's see here. Uh, I am led to believe that Melindrak is right, that the raids have calmed. He believes they are due to increased measures in the borders, due to his own elven forces in the Emerald Enclave, and he could very well be right, but as I told Ciela, my instincts are telling me that there's something more to this. There's something. It's it's not it's not in the nature of hunters to cease so early when there's so much prey to be had. I don't know if that makes any sense. Um, but I've been working with who I believe to be your brother, Prince Elegarthus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, he returned to the Misty Forest in the nick of time and has been aiding the Emerald Enclave to try and push back the raids. He's been helping us coordinate. He's been invaluable to the Emerald Enclave in the Misty Forest, helping us know the land for those who are new there and directing forces in a marvelous tactic. He
You
is
guys,
currently stationed. Oh, sorry, yes?
you guys are actively engaging the reeds.
Not per se. We were defending against the raids and we have pushed them back. But the Emerald Enclave maintains a presence to make a show of military force, to ward them off, essentially, let them know that it's not wise to continue their threat.
My father
So
thinks that they just disappeared, like they're not there anymore.
they have abated. They're not actively attacking. It's more of a patrol or a standard guard than an actual attacking force, if that makes sense. We stand defensively over the Misty Forest, but there's no battles currently taking place.
Well, where's their camp? They're that large that they're taking over entire villages. They gotta be in somewhere.
Well, they haven't taken them over. They have raided them and slaughtered the people living there. So they do not stay stationed. They're nomadic. They're raiders. They move across the land and take and move on. You understand?
Yeah. So we don't know where they are?
No. They they have left the Misty Forest, and it isn't our objective to pursue them. It's our objective to protect.
Well, it sounds like they're gonna be back. Can we
Yes,
afford
that is what I agree with. That they might be back. There's so much left untapped in the Misty Forest. So many villages remaining. It seems unlike a raider's attitude to give up so suddenly.
We'll,
The moment. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say we'll come back as soon as we can to help.
Okay. I already told Ciela that there is a village to the north of the Misty Forest um, uh, called Atland or Altand. Altand. Uh, Altand. I don't know if you know of it, but a village called Alton to the north of the Misty Forest. This is where your brother's made his base camp, and I'd recommend you go there. I've received strange reports from that village in particular. Your brother has requested, he hasn't requested anything, but he's certainly relayed his concerns that, well, it's the last place that was attacked. And you'll have to speak to him if you want to know more. This is the extent of my knowledge.
I wouldn't happen to know if that's on the way to the Dragon Council.
You know as much as I do about the Dragon Council. I do not even know where it's held. You'll have to talk to the dragon if you wish to know.
Well, I'll back as soon as I can and try to help.
Okay. And you two will sort of wander out of the castle at that point, and they'd probably make a remark about. No, never mind. I was gonna say he probably makes a remark about like maybe not talking about council business around out in public, but he probably makes a small remark just to be cautious of who might be listening when we're outside the castle. Um, and yeah, you guys can wander, and we'll come back to you in a minute. Anything else anyone wants to do? It seems that Terrence and Aravir has left the council. There hasn't been much spoken. It could be that they are passing up on the offer of the dragon. Maybe not. Who knows? What do you three want to do?
Go ahead.
I did know that Terrence had mentioned that he wanted to get back to his church for a sermon. I'm assuming he's headed back there, and I'm assuming that I would have noticed that at least one of the two of them have left. So I'll head back to the estate.
Okay. Head back to the estate. Okay, what about Ciela? What about Star?
I'll just follow suit and go to the state, or I guess track Terrence if he didn't go to the state.
Okay, you try and track down Terrence. You'll follow after him. In hot pursuit, you get on a carriage. You're like, follow that carriage, and you guys have a very tame carriage chase. A super law-abiding carriage. Yeah, a most law-abiding carriage chase. Ciela?
I just want to walk outside the castle and whistle for Laragoth.
Okay, you leave the castle. Laragoth kind of appears from the shade of the trees. The guards on the wall definitely look a little like anxious to see him, but the word is spread about your dragon at this point, and Laragoth goes, "What?"
We are going to be visiting the Metallic Dragon Council. I need you to meet us at the Misty Forest, though, when we finish there.
Metallic Dragon. What are these places you speak of?
The Misty Forest is where many elves live, and there have been attacks and raids against the elves. The Metallic Dragon Council will not take kindly to non-metallic dragons who are not invited, and they will probably attack you if they see you, and I don't want that.
Sort of growls and says, "Fine. I'll go to your misty forest, find out where it is."
Yeah, and
Is it swampy?
it's a forest, but if there's swamps on the way, you can always stop there.
I'm tired of your cold and mostly cold. We went to an iceberg, and then we went to a many icebergs.
We're not going back to the cold this time.
Fine. I'll go to your stupid forest.
And Ciela will take a couple of gold out of her pocket and offer them to Laragoth.
Snatches it greedily. Puts it in the
5
saddlebags. Cool. Goes, fine. I'll go to your forest and see if there's anything fun to do.
Okay. And if you'd like at some point, maybe when we're in the Misty Forest or after, I can teach you some of the magics I know.
Okay.
Okay. And I will, I promise.
Fine. I'll have to find out where this forest is. Go there.
All right.
How long will you be?
I can't see us being longer than a day or two. Um, I can send hmm, let's say in 3 days' time we meet there. And if I don't show up at that point, give it another day.
So meet up in 4 days.
Yes, let's make it 4 days.
Okay. And then what?
And if you see the dragon cult beforehand, just remember where they were so that we can eliminate them if necessary.
Fine.
And if you see any straggling cultists, you can eat them.
I know that.
Okay, just making sure you know. Yeah,
Why must this is foolish? Why must we separate?
I know. I don't want to.
Didn't you say we're stronger together or whatever?
We are stronger together
So why are you separating us?
because I don't want you to come to harm at the Dragon Council. There are many.
Dragons.
There are many ancient metallic dragons, and we are fewer than they are.
I don't
So-
like it.
I know. But maybe one day you'll get to know them and maybe even befriend them. But just now is not the time.
And we'll sort of like huff again. Lara's very agitated at the idea of separating.
Mhm.
Goes, fine. I'll travel to a misty forest and be there for 4 days, and then if I don't see you, I'll
Return to the manor.
Oh, fine. Okay, fine. I'll go back to the manor and for fine, fine, fine. And then we'll just sort of like turn around and kind of like leave a little bit like a pissed off teenager,
Yeah.
and kind of like wander away without saying goodbye. Very little spitfire.
Yeah, Ciela would have a little smile on her face about that.
All right, incredible, incredible. Okay, fantastic. Sweet. Anything else? For where are you two headed next, Star and Ciela?
Debrosa?
No, Ciela. Oh no, just you, Ciela, because
Oh, yeah.
Sabrosa. Yeah, you went back to the manor. I'm
I'm
just
gonna
trying to
hang
figure out
around
where
the
everyone's
castle. I'm gonna hang around the
Hang around the
castle because we're gonna have to leave from the castle, I assume.
Got
So
it.
I'm not gonna leave.
Shroud's like T-posing at like Elia in the corner just to like keep her from leaving, and she's like, "Ah!" That's not true at all. But yeah, you and Shroud will just hang out and kind of like I guess try and stall Elia from like deciding that she's done being here and leaving, and try and buy
Yep.
your party some time. Fantastic. So we will say, because Terrence and Star are in a carriage. They probably got a carriage too. So we'll say Terrence, then Aravir, then Star, and Sabrosa, all pretty much one after the other. Will all return once more to the Dragon estate. You all get there, and they welcome you in with open arms, happily so. What next?
I assume I arrive first.
Yes, you do. By a couple of minutes.
All right, I am going to seek out. Where are you? Sister of the Earth. Helen Wally.
Yeah, you find Helen Wally in the church. She welcomes you in. She says, "Hello again, Brother Terrence."
It's good to meet you. Sorry to be short, but I promised I would hold a sermon here, and I think we're going to be leaving shortly. Do you think we can get that organized?
Oh, Um, certainly I could do my best. I could do my best. Yes. Let me make the arrangements right away.
Thank you.
Um, she's going to like run out and she's going to go find like a number of kids in the street and like pay them all coppers to like run around, spread the word that Harvest Master Terrence has come to town and that he will be telling a sermon within maybe the next hour, is what she'll say. And come quick, come quick. Um, let's see here. So you like probably take off your armor and your shield and your war shit, and you put on like proper vestments and get all cleric and priesty up. And by the time you come back, this tiny little chapel is filled with like probably like 30 people, like truly an astronomical number of individuals to be fitting in this small space. And like actually outside the temple where temple doors are open are like another 50 people who have all like gathered around the doors to kind of like just maybe hear your words out the door, where they all are hushing each other to try and keep quiet so they can hear. But these are all commoners. Like there's no high nobles here. Just like the common folk, the good people who serve Chantia most ardently. And probably your party too. At this point, I'll say Sabrosa, Star, and Aravir show up in time to kind of like either get themselves into the chapel or stand at the back, and we'll be able to hear Terrence's sermon as like quite a hefty turnout shows up for like in like less than an hour's notice. Like many people show up and pray and prepare to hear the great words of Terrence. Terrence, please take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for showing. This is an incredible turnout, and it's an honor to speak before you. I apologize for the late notice, but as you all know, I've become very busy in recent months, and it is a good thing. It is a very good thing. I've gone from plowing and sowing the earth, just as you all do, to you all becoming my crops. And I'm here to treat you and water you as best I can. So, what I'm here, one of the things I'm here to talk about is new leaves. Every harvest, after winter and fall and the plants die, spring comes and new leaves are born onto the trees. And these new leaves are the seeds of the next harvest. And I'm bringing this up because we have somebody new in the congregation today that I would like to step forward. Zig. Can I get...
Man. Yeah, everyone kind of like turns and the crowd parts a little bit, and Zig's like, huh? Like looks around and he like points at himself like you can't believe you're calling on him.
Zig
He'll
is
step
one
forward.
of these new leaves. I know a lot of people are a little nervous about having a kobold, somebody who used to be aligned, or potentially aligned with cultish activities, but I am certain that this young kobold has turned over a new leaf and he's dedicated his life to Chantia, just as I have, just as you all have. And part of this sermon is going to be celebrating that. So, Zig, do you, before myself, all these people, and before Chantia herself, accept this noble duty?
Make me a persuasion check to see if Zig's conversion will be genuine.
Is there peer pressure?
You know what? He is charmed by you. He has been
He
charmed by
is.
you for the power of Geish. So yes, I will give you advantage.
Cheat. All right, that is 24.
24. Zig like looks around. He looks around. I'll carry your persuasion check over to like the rest of the people and how well your sermon's gone so far. And they've definitely been brought to the idea that like, you know, a new leaf. Some people in there are like, turned over a new leaf. That's great. That's great. Like, how did you think of that? That's such a cool metaphor. And they all are like looking at Zig, and like one person like puts a hand on his shoulder, is giving him a nod, and he's like looking around everyone and at you, and he goes, I, I, I well, I come from a place that's all snow and Arctic, and this past day is the first time I've ever seen anything grow and green, and it's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, if you're all gonna welcome me here, it'd be so nice. I mean, it must be because of this Chantia lady. So, yeah, I will. I'll change my ways. I'll be good. I'll turn over leaves.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there's like this, yeah, from like the congregation. There's like this, oh, hallelujah. There's like, ah. And some people are like really like applauding for Zig, and Zig's chest pussed out. He feels he's looking pretty good.
All right. Now I'm going to perform the ceremony of dedication, as you have dedicated yourself to this humble cause. And I'll
drops
pull
to
out
his knees in front of you. Yeah.
I'll pull out 25 gold pieces worth of powdered silver and perform this dedication.
Okay. Over the next little while, celestial words, words of Chantia. We'll say that that like what you've already done was a part of it as well. You put your hand on like his head and like, do you promise to like till the crops and like bring like respect the earth and its mother? And he goes, I do. And he's having like a whole divine ecstasy moment, and he's like, oh, and like the whole congregation starts doing like the like I don't know, just like goes into like a whole song or whatever.
Speaking in tongues.
Yeah, he's like, as he's like, he's feeling the spirit. And he's just and like this whole sermon goes off, and in the end, you have a, you know, despite the charm, in his heart, you have created a dedicated member to your god. He has been dedicated to the service of Chantia. And he's going to gain a little extra boost on saving throws and stuff once you've created this right. And he's like, I've been blessed! I've been blessed! I've been blessed by the great lady! And everyone's like, oh! Like, everyone's like losing it over Zig. And you know what I'll say? Zig has like blue Arctic-y scales, and also throughout the course of this, Zig's scales turn green. And Zig will sort of become this like green cobalt. This is dedication to Chanti is genuine. Maybe this sort of like little visual representation is brought to him by your goddess itself. And he's like, whoa, it's true. It's true. I feel her in my heart. And everyone's like, whoa, I want to be done. And everyone's like losing it over this and seeing the power of Chantia before their eyes to this once damned creature now made whole.
Oh, wow. All right, now I have to get back before we get left behind.
They're like, Harvest Master, it's Harvest Master. And they're all like, as you go by, they all want, it's super like Superman, where they all want to just like have a hand on you. And as you go by, they like touch you and you like shake hands with some of the people there. And like one person presents their baby and you do like a quick baby kissing and like,
kiss my ear of corn.
Yeah, they're like, you kiss my ear of corn, bless my fields. And yeah, exactly. Like you do kiss some babies, kiss some corn, shake some hands. And you leave Zig behind, and he's like, "What?" And he's just like having a whole moment there, because like that's the thing too is like Tiamat, she's worshipped as she's not worshipped per se. She's more like venerated and acknowledged, um, ethically. She's not like paid active respect. Like people don't like pray to Tiamat. They just sort of like acknowledge that she is their master. So it's a very impersonal relationship they have with Tiamat. It's very like she will come, like something that can't hear them. But this is very like there's a very emotional, personal relationship for each person with Chantia, and it's a different faith you have brought Zig into, and he is elated to be a part of it. And he's in like while everyone's seeing you goodbye, he's like in front of the altar going, "Please, bro!" Ah! He's just like losing it. He's in full divine ecstasy. And you head out. Man, take inspiration, but I feel like it's not enough. I'll get back to you. Very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see what Chantia has got in her pocket for you. We can do better than that. As you leave behind and you look out at the open fields post sermon, and people are like saying, we'll say that the Sister of the Earth sort of like leads them in a prayer now that your sermon is complete and says, "Let us all now pray to the Earth Mother." And they all sort of like go on their knees and pray. And you take a moment and look at all the crops and seeing them grow, sproutlings becoming vegetables and such. And you feel the presence of the Earth Mother strong in you, very strong indeed. You, my friend.
It's like the sun peeks out from some clouds and you get the god rays.
Exactly. And as you leave, may I ask you what blessing Chantia gave you once before? It was Constitution, right?
Yes, I believe I've been blessed twice.
That's right, wisdom and Constitution.
Wisdom and
right?
Constitution, yeah.
You have been blessed with health. You have been blessed with understanding. You have become brawn enough to face the challenges ahead, wise enough to convert those on your path. The war is great, and its people need protection. And so, with these great things that you've done, Chantia wishes and knows your importance in this battle. And though you will return to Elysium one day, without a doubt, now is not your time. And she would make sure that remains so. She's going to give you the blessing of wound closure. For all intents and purposes, you will be eternally under the benefit of a parapet of wound closure, the magic item. No attunement required. No item, no attunement, it's just a blessing, which means that while you're wearing the pendant, you stabilize whenever you are dying at the start of your turn. So if you're ever on death saving throws at the start of your turn, you will stabilize. And additionally, whenever you roll a hit die to regain hit points, you double the number of hit points you restore.
What is this called?
It's called a parapet of wound closure. It's a magic item. So you may add them so like however you want to do it, you can open up the magic item. I'll send you the link, actually. I think is the best way to do it.
Okay.
Let me send you the link, and you can just copy the details of the item, and you'll be under those benefits essentially until she decides you're not.
Okay. Until I do something horrible.
You know what? I'm not even going to send the link. I'm just going to send you the description. It's probably the easiest way to go about
it.
All right. That's coming to you in Zoom. Blessing of closure. You have done your good work here. Now you must do your good work abroad. Boom. There you are.
All right. I certainly feel blessed.
Yeah. Someone's going to really have a want to kill you, like a deep malice to kill you if you are going to die going forward. So that's cool. Is there anything anyone else would like to do? Here at the estate, now that you have returned.
Star will just clap and be like, "Wow, that was a service," and be following Terrence out.
Ah, I can't believe it went so well. I was just winging it out there.
My good sir, that well, for winging it, you did fine. Now we should get going before we lose our ride.
Yeah, they just asked me earlier today if I would do a sermon, and yeah, I just threw that together. It went great. I didn't know there were going to be that many people.
Well, they love you, Terrence. That's why.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of pressure. All
But you did
right.
great. Now we're just gonna get back, or we're not gonna have a ride. Wait, so who are we missing? Just to make sure we get everyone.
So before you answer that question, I want to come to Aravir for a second, who went on a carriage ride with DeLon. So you guys get into the carriage, Aravir, um, and like you get in, and he's like 2 dragon fields to stay, and he's like, "All right, so," um, and you guys get in, and the wheels start rolling, and you look out the window, Aravir, and start seeing Waterdeep going by, and once it's like made the corner to come out, you sort of like look forward, and DeLon, not forcefully, but certainly with intention, sort of just like moves himself across the carriage towards you and like takes your cheek and lays a passionate one on.
Okay, incredible. Well, Ervir will kiss Delon back, and and honestly, maybe this works out really well because Soraya got a little mixed up and didn't realize like we were leaving that night to go to the Dragon Council. So I don't actually have to leave the castle Waterdeep. So maybe we just take a little bit of the carriage ride and end up back at the castle because
Yeah, maybe this was just a super smooth excuse from Aravir to get some time alone from DeLon. Definitely intentional.
yeah.
Very smooth. Um, so you get a little alone time with DeLon, and the curtains close in the carriage, and you guys spend a little time together, smooching, and true to the curtains closing. Unless there's anything you wanted to say or talk about with Delon, maybe you two just have a little alone time.
Mm, no, we can leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
And whatever happens there can be left to the imagination. Um, After a little while, a little ride, it ends up back in front of Castle Waterdeep, and Delon will, uh, as you're approaching, Delon says, "I'm not really a person of your kind of station. Do you, do you want to be seen getting out of the carriage with me, or is that like a whole thing?"
Well, I don't have any sort of claim to the throne, so I don't know why it would really matter.
Okay, just trying to keep up, I guess.
Never cared too much for politics, even though I still find myself wrapped in them.
Hmm. You and me both.
No, I'd love to get out of the carriage with you, Delon.
He will open the carriage door and step down and try and be as gentlemanly as he knows how, though he is a wild man first and foremost. He will take your hand, help you step down, and the carriage will ride off. And as you go to ascend the steps back to the castle, he kind of like grabs your wrist, kind of like you kind of stop and look back, and he kind of leans in and says, "How long do you think you'll be gone for? When will you return back immediately, or will you go to the Misty Forest?"
I think we'll only be gone for a few days, and I hope we'll go straight to the Misty Forest. It seems pressing over there.
Seems the time we get to spend together is shorter and shorter.
Well, we could. Sounds like we could use your help in the Misty Forest.
You all need to stop making such intriguing offers because I only have so much willpower around
Hmm. That's all right. You're stuck in.
you. The unluckiest ranger in the entire Emerald Empire, stuck in a castle while there's a war happening.
Maybe you should delegate more often.
I would love to, but I honestly can't find anyone who is willing to pick up the burden.
Mm.
So
Well, I admire you for it, at the very least.
someone has to do it, I guess. But I have no doubt that there's going to come a time where I'll step back out onto the battlefield. Hopefully, when all this politics are over, sooner rather than later.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, maybe you could help me with something while I just thought of this. um, while you're here, if you don't
Sure.
mind doing me a favor.
Anything.
Well, it's not the most exciting, but I kind of blew up my friend's sword and I need to get it fixed. And she'll like produce the remnants of the dancing blade.
He'll be genuinely surprised as he looks at it and be like, "What'd you do? Did you drop a meteor on it?"
Pretty much, it's called a fireball.
I know what a fireball is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
oops.
he'll like take the sword, which like I don't even have anything that could possibly physically demonstrate it over camera, but like the blade like the hilt is like sort of melted down. The blade like actually like goes up and like warps and twists into a circle like that. So it's more of like I don't know. It's sort of like a cane. And he's like, right, I'll see if I can't find someone to get it fixed. Um,
Yeah,
he just stands there with his fucked up sword in the middle of the street. So people walk by and they're like, "Oh, it looks like his sword's a little bent." And he's like, he kind of like looks at you like, "Thanks a lot."
Oh, how embarrassing.
How embarrassing! His sword's all crooked. And he's like, I blushes a little bit. He goes, "Thanks a lot. Is this intentional?"
well, I don't know who else I could ask to help me with such a task. You're very reliable, Dylan.
I I try to be. Um, okay. Well, you have a dragon to catch, and I have a sword to get rid of before too many rumors begin to spread. Too many more rumors begin to spread about my sword being tilted, apparently.
Well, I appreciate you taking the hit for this one. Um, I feel really bad about her sword. She liked it a lot, and yeah, I would like to get it as fixed for her as soon as possible.
Uh, all right, I will find a smith. So long as you promise not to do it again.
I learned my lesson. Magical items are not as strong as my fireball.
That's not a bad thing, necessarily.
No.
No. He kind of like looks at you a moment too long, and he'll kind of like put his hand like behind your neck and kind of pull you in for another kiss. And he will say, "Be safe, Princess Aravir."
She'll blush. I'll try to be. Um, I I want to see you again. And she'll give him a little smile.
Then be safe, and I'll be here waiting for you.
Thank
He'll
you.
kind of, you sense with growing discomfort, he sort of like his hand almost sort of like drifts off of you as if he's like lingering on the final physical contact with you. And as his hand parts with your form, he smile kind of turns to as his head turns, kind of turns to like a more muted, um, maybe discomfort as he walks down the street away with intention. He does not like to see you go.
Cool. And Eric will return to the wherever we're supposed to meet.
All right, you return back up to Castle Waterdeep. Um, was there anything from anyone else? I know Ciella's waiting at the castle. Erebir, you're walking up. Terrence, you're heading back with Star. Sabrosa?
Yeah, no, I was just there for the sermon and didn't necessarily feel a need to interact with anyone. So on my way back with the rest of the group, just making sure I'm staying with the group wherever they're going.
Yep, fair. Fair enough. Yep, so you guys
Do you want to ride in our carriage so you don't have to get another one? So you don't have to follow us.
That's very kind of you. I honestly don't mind being alone, but sure, I'll ride with you.
Yeah, come on.
there's like a traffic jam of like three different carriages outside of your
Oh,
houses for three of you, and they're
I'm
all
so
like,
sorry.
"Hey, come on!" There's these gnomes on top who are like, "Hey, come on, there's a back here. What are you doing?" And he goes like, "You move the car for you." These gnomes are all yelling at each other, and we're like, "Oh, no, they're going with me to get out of here. Get out!" And they start like yelling at each other. It's like, "It got so motherfucker!" And they said, and yeah,
Come on, we're
basically.
gonna miss our flight.
He goes, all right, get with me, fastest in town. You'll not forget it. And one of them gets in, the other one's like, and they all start like yelling at each other. I've decided gnomes are Italian.
Yeah, I forgot that you
Um,
decided gnomes were Italian.
yeah, I decided no. Thank you, Aravir, who had the original idea, which is incredible. So yeah, the gnomes are like, you picked the best carriage in all of Waterdeep. Yes, all right away. And they
It's
will
gnome, but
turn.
it smelled like gnocchi.
Yeah. Like I think I gotta make their voices a little more shrill. So it's like, this is the best one in all of Waterdeep. Yeah, it's gonna go to the back now. Yeah. And you guys turn around, and one of the guys manages to get to complete his Uber ride with all of you guys and gets paid, and the other ones are like, "Ay, cazzo, motherfucker!" And you guys make it back to Castle Waterdeep. And he goes, do not forget. And then in the most ridiculous way, I'm going to give him like a true gnomish name. He's not going to be Italian anymore.
It's not gonna be Mario.
No, I almost said Luigi. I was like, no. No. This is still a gnome. And he's going to be like, remember, you are in the carriage of Farusu Temple Ripper. Yes, it was a good time. Yes, come, never forget me. You come back, and my family. And then you guys go, and as he's just like still yelling in the distance as you walked off, you're like, what's that guy's problem? You guys all managed to congregate back in Castle Waterdeep to where you will see. I'll give you the opportunity. Ciela, is there anything like anything you wanted to say to Elia while you guys awaited the rest of the party?
Muted.
Yeah. Cielo will come up and nod respectfully. I'm sorry for acting strangely before. I've never met a metallic dragon before.
That's all right. I'm sure we'll get a chance to get to know each other. It should take about 2 days to get to the Nether Mountains, and I'll be happy to provide a flight back to Waterdeep afterwards. I understand the lives of mortals are complicated.
Would it be like, is the Misty Forest on the way by any chance?
The Misty Forest? No, that's to the south. The Nether
Okay.
Mountains are in the north.
Okay, no worries. Just sure. Is there any advice you can give us?
She'll sort of sit back. Not sit back, she's very poised, but she will say, the counselors they've already made up their minds to some degree about the various factions. We know of the many factions by reputation. We know, and they all have merit in military power. We know the Elves and the Order of the Gauntlet and the Zentrum, all by reputation. We understand the alliance you're trying to build. That is not why we are inviting you to speak on behalf of these factions. We know their reputations and are willing to ally with them. What we are trying to do is understand the individuals who lead them. And you all are the people who are going out, taking action. It is your actions that shape what is going to happen next. So it will be all of you who we will be judging and interpreting more than the council itself. You are the ones who have diplomatic power to make decisions on their behalf. It is to you we look, the individuals at the head of the council, to represent all of mortal kind.
I understand. That's it's quite a responsibility.
It is. However, you are the ones, by the tales telling, who have been at the beginning of all of this. You have seen the dragon cult up close and personal, and as I've said, we already know the reputations and actions of the various factions. It's not what we need. We're fixed in that regard. We need their leaders, we need their characters, and that is all of you.
Well,
The normal leaders. Oh, please go ahead.
I'm certain that we'll make an impression of some sort. I know that everyone in our group, all of Dragonsbane, our hearts are in the right places. And we just want to protect people, protect nature, protect the land. You know,
Yes.
that's what we want to do. We just want to do good.
It's not enough, I think, to have your heart in the right place. But we will see. If you wish for more ideas, there are 5 counselors, one representing each of metallic dragon kind: gold, silver, copper, brass, and bronze.
Mhm.
They all exist there, and they all have their attitudes towards what is going to happen. Some are downright unfriendly, some are a little neutral. It'll be to you to sway the council individually, each and every one of them, to your side of things. It'll be good to understand where they're coming from, their attitudes, their desires, even maybe what they might like out of mortal kind to change their disposition. All of these things will be important.
Understand. It's a lot riding on this, and we'll do our best, our very best.
I see that. And I hope they are amenable to wisdom, and often they are. All and each and every counselor is respected by Dragonkind. They would not have been sent if otherwise.
Okay.
At this time, we'll say the party comes together.
There's one quick thing Cielo wants to do.
Sure.
She's gonna just say goodbye and go into the castle to find a messenger.
Okay. You find some official messenger who says, "What may I do for you, ma'am?"
I need you to bring a message to the manor, to the Dragon Fields Manor.
What should that message say, miss?
The message is for the Black Dragon.
Of course, madam.
The message is to wait here. Simply wait here. We will be back in a few days.
Wait here. Very well. I will ensure this is waylaid immediately.
And I will pay you, and also give this to the dragon, and she'll give him a couple gold. The dragon.
He goes, actually, this guy's probably paid really well. He's a royal messenger. He's probably paid very well. So he takes the gold, and without a look of greed or anything, completely professionally, he takes it and he puts it in his own bag. And he will say, "I shall leave immediately."
Thank you.
If you want to hand him a silver, he'd probably
Okay.
do the job. And he will head off into the city to deliver the message.
Okay, thank you.
Tell the dragon to wait. Okay. At this time, the party members all arrive. Ciela, you arrive with Shroud, and you see Elia talking to Shroud, going like, "I see you're a warrior of not many words." Shroud. And Ellie's like, I certain will have an interesting tactic in diplomacy going forward. And at that point, you all come through the gate, and she goes, it seems that it's time to go. And you guys can all make your way down to the courtyard below. And she'll look at you all and say, the hour does grow late. I don't think I can delay much longer. Will you be ready to fly?
Let's go.
This is gonna be fun. Wait, is this like Ciela, when you ride you know who, does it feel like seasickness? Please tell me no.
Oh, completely different, but you'll probably puke.
Damn it. It'll
I
still
would
be fun.
appreciate not, if at all possible, puking on me.
I won't. I swear.
She steps back and very elegantly, her skin seems to almost like open into beautiful silvery scales. Her eyes turn to slits. Her teeth grow sharp. And her dress almost seems to like wrap around her body and coat into a brilliant silver. A long, elegant tail stretches from her back, and her size grows momentously as huge wings unfurl almost angel-like from her back. Her neck elongates into a massive, ancient silver dragon before you. She looks down to you and speaks in a much more draconic, a deeper voice. She says, "It is time." She will sort of lay over across her great talons and allow you all to mount upon her back. She is large enough to carry each and every one of you.
Ciela
Alright.
gets on expertly.
I was about to say that dragon is a little small. Just a tad.
You all mount the dragon. It's a little bigger than what you're used to, Cielo, which isn't harder to mount necessarily. You mount up, and all of you guys get on dragon's back. She says, "We shall rest every 3 hours, but until then we ride. It is 2 days to the Nether Mountain of the Dragon Council, and I hope your counselors will allow this." And she'll let out this like castle rattling, stone shaking, like hiss like Jurassic roar that spans over all of Waterdeep and probably scares the living bejesus out of everybody because the dragon cult is at large. With mighty wings, her wings will beat her up off of the ground. Suddenly, in a single instant, you are 40 feet up off the ground, and then another 80, and then another 80, 6 seconds later. And then flying over Waterdeep above, where there's equal parts. And you guys will fly over Waterdeep on beautiful dragonback as her silver scales glisten. It is a beautiful sight, and not nearly as maybe trying as riding on Lyragoth, as Lyragoth always has this sort of constant like trying to shake you a little bit. Like she's kind of really spiteful. This dragon is. It's like going from being in a car with someone who like likes to drive a little too fast, to someone who's like a very safe driver in like a very big secure truck. Very different, and you fly across, and it's not at all like maybe a little bit starts. Certainly makes your stomach roll from the altitude, and the sort of like up and down and up and down of the beating of the wings, and then it sails out for a while. So I imagine it's not as bad as seasickness star, but it's still
Your ears
up
are
there.
popping.
Ears are popping for sure as the dragon takes to great height. But luckily, you're all used to the cold at this point, having spent a great deal of time in the north. And you will ride on Dragonback. You will ride on Artialakarnos's back for some time. For 2 days, you will ride on Dragonback. You will take a long rest, and then you'll fly during the day, taking 3-hour rests at a time, up to 8 hours a day of travel. You travel out into the wilds. Is there anything that you would like to do during that voyage? Is there anything you would like to say to this great dragon who never assumes mortal form again out in the wilds?
This is
Take that
nothing
as a
like
no.
riding on Lyragoth. You're a much better flyer.
She goes, I know. I would hope so after 700 years.
This is truly amazing. I've done a lot of things, but I've never done anything like this.
Sora just has his eyes really closed and just clenching to the scales. He's like, I've
Uh,
been flown up once. I'm good.
yeah, the
Like,
dragon flies real smooth, real big. Um, uh, yeah, and even on Lyregoth, like if you fly up in the air, like air currents will push you around a little bit because she's a little smaller. But um, Oter Carnos. Oterlia Carnos. Oterlia Carnos. She is very poised. Her great size resists the harsh winds, and the fly is gorgeous. You're not on like a chromatic matte black dragon. You're on a gleaming, almost polished, beautiful silver dragon as you fly through the air and the skies. Um, it's not all beauty up here, though, my friends. Unfortunately, it's actually kind of disturbing for reasons that do not involve your dragon rider, or your dragon companion, I should say. Um, as you fly over, um, as you cover 600 miles from Waterdeep to the Nether Mountains, um, you find yourself riding through a great deal of suffrage. As you look down off of Dragonback, the air is filled with pillars of smoke of ruined settlements. Below, you can see like like villages, like great numbers of refugees moving slowly across the plains away from their sundered villages. You might see uh, active dragon attacks happening off way in the distance. Um, Maybe even see like chromatic dragons just sort of flying brazenly over top and below. Um, let's see. Like I said, pillars of smoke hanging on the horizon. As far as the eye can see, you see destruction. The people of the Sword Coast suffer in this war. And since your first session of Waterdeep, all that time chasing Verum the White and going up to the Sea of Moving Ice and all the way back to Waterdeep, things have escalated dramatically. The lands are not safe to roam any longer, if they ever were. Um, if any of you had a mind to like go and try and save like a village, be like, no, wait, stop. It would be relate like Oter Liacornos would say. She would say like, no. She'd say, it breaks my heart, but we must not stop. If we stopped for every village that was being attacked, we would never get to the Dragon Council. And then I assure you, you would not have their alliance by being late so many weeks. We must make haste. Things have gotten so terrible that the only way you'll save your people is by looking in the long run. You cannot save every village and win the war. You must win the war to save every village.
She
Okay.
sounded pretty sympathetic. Is that I mean, I'm assuming it's genuine. I guess I'm wondering how heartfelt it seems, feels, sounds.
Okay. Make me an insight check.
Like, is she, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is she trying to be sympathetic or is she actually like internally, innately sympathetic?
Got it. Go for it.
You said insight, right?
Mm-hmm.
28.
As long as you travel, there is smoke or destruction on the horizon. And as long as you travel, Her eyes are fixed on the ground, on the wraiths, on the smoke, on the pillars of flame. She rides steady, but her eyes are always down on persisting below. You get the sense that she has a great depth of compassion for the smaller folk races, as is her reputation as a defender of mortal kind. You get the sense that what she's telling you all of this, like, we need to get to the council to win the war, to stop, to win them over, to win the war, to stop this.
Right, right,
You get the sense she's not only trying to convince you guys of that.
right.
She's also trying to remind herself of that as well, because she probably has the same urges.
The best
Travel.
dragon ever.
Basically, it is with great struggle that she does this. And you guys travel over 600 miles, and for 2 days, you see this suffrage and pain. And if ever the objective was lost upon you, it becomes as prominent as it ever was. That Greenest, what happened in Greenest, it's happening everywhere, and it needs to be stopped. You fly, what feels like for a while, like a great long time. Probably not perfectly comfortable sitting on like the scales of dragons. They're pretty solid creatures. But after 2 days, you approach the Great Nether Mountains in the distance. A great series of mountains that are said to hold great mysteries and secrets. The dragon flies higher still, higher and higher, as if making for the peak of the Nether Mountains. It gets colder and colder and colder until finally the dragon lands as the sun grows to the horizon. With all of you on back, the dragon starts walking forward and speaks to you and says, "We draw close now. They have been here waiting, delegating, preparing. The time is now. Remember, watch for their desires. Watch for their feelings towards all of you, and see what way you can make reparations. But make no mistake, dragonkind has been harmed by humanity as well. There can be ways to sway them, but these are great dragons. They will not be swayed by simple words. You'll have to do better. Your council will have to do better." Finally, you arrive in what looks to be this large sort of oasis. In fact, to a point, I'm going to take you to the map now. I'm excited about this map. I worked on it all night. Well, on one of the nights, not this one particularly, but no, I did. Oh yeah, baby. Let me line this up. You guys come to see this great council has been assembled. Fire, ice, fog. This place is ancient. This is surely a great dragon root, or a lair of a great dragon, at the very least. And this place has both in the carving of stone and the lighting of fire and the preparation of ancient beings has been made ready for all of you and for the dragons who determine the fate of the metallic dragons themselves. You all approach to the end of this long stone platform, and you are made to, not made to, but you are allowed to sort of get off the back of your dragon you have rode on for so long, and step forward to meet with these dragons. Many have assembled here. You look around to see dragons of all kinds. You see the first, as you approach, is a dragon of copper. Copper scales with fins, a long wings that go as far back as its tail, and looks down at you with interest, cocking its head a little bit. Another dragon thereafter, you see a great and mighty dragon of bronze that is green, sort of decorated between all of the scales, similarly looking down with great wings and a determined reptilian-looking face. Next, you see the brass dragon, a dragon with massive wings that go right to the very tip of its long tail and massive fins that sprout out from its face, scales brawn and brass. And last but not least, as you approach, at the head of the council and leader of it, oh god, why is he so small? You're supposed to be cool. There you go. You see a great gold dragon. It has long, sort of tendrils, whiskers that hang down from its face that give it the appearance of a sagely ancient dragon. Fins that sprout back and mighty wings of pure gold that fin doubly down all the way to the tip of its mighty tail. This wise and ancient dragon sits at the head of the council, a dragon who Erebir has come to know to be Potanther, the former king of justice of all Dragoncar. As you are made up of the back of Otero Lacarnos, she sort of says, "Good luck, and may you convince us all well." And she'll sort of, with a dragon smirk, she will turn to the side and flap her mighty wings again and ascend up into the air and land off to the far edge over here. Land, turn, and sit poised. It seems that she is a counselor as well, though she had relayed she was only an emissary. At this point, the great golden dragon at the head of the council speaks. Looks down at you, has been judging you for some time now as you join the council, and says, "I, Protanther, call this council of metallic dragons to begin. We are wise, and we are ancient, and we have been chosen by our own kinds. Every member of this Council 5 is respected, legendary, wise, and ready to decide the fate of humans, elves, of the other of the humanoid races. At the very least, we can all agree that they should be given the opportunity to try and sway us left or right. If they are worthy of our power, we shall see. You all, 6, this dragon's bane was been called here in such a disgusting taste. Such a name to come before such mighty dragons. I wonder what bane you expect you would have against those assembled here today. And perhaps you will emulate the very flaws we seek not to confront in your kind. How conceited. It is now that I ask and request, as we have talked much, discussed much, known the reputation, actions of their leaders, of their factions. We know how their Onthor Frum would behave, boisterous and righteous. We know how their Zentrim will behave, taking money for what they may do. We know of their factions. What we must know is the heart of those who would shape their will. These dragons. We shall see. Return now to your accommodations. May this mountaintop, as ever, be a place of haven for you bright and respected nations. And we shall see if the metallics will go to war with the small folk or leave them behind. The dragons all sort of let out like a roar, sort of emanate and shake the mountain tops. And all the dragons will sort of take flight. And just in this general vicinity, flight will be had, and the dragons will go into various caves, and you will see where they go. So, whereas on the map you might not immediately know where each dragon is going, your characters do. And whichever dragon you would like to speak to start with, you may make your way to their abode and perhaps begin to get the sense of them and what they might require to be brought into friendly graces. Okay. The dragons all fly to their various dwellings within this great cavernous system. What would you all like to do? Where would you like to start? There is a dragon of each metallic type.
Should to start with the closest one?
The copper.
Yeah.
Sounds like it makes sense.
Shroud basically like says like, I will find us accommodations. And will like walk off. And a Shroud will you'll also notice here and there you will see these dragonborn warriors walking around, all metallic. All metallic variants of dragonborn will walk around. A number of them will walk up to Shroud and kind of like gesture as if to say like this way. And will show where your party's accommodations will be, and Shroud will go there. So you all want to make your way to speak to the Copper Dragon.
Should we get our break in before that?
Yes. Sure, let's do that a little bit early, but yes, perfect. Let's take our break, and when we get back, you guys begin your negotiations. All right, well, let's hop to it then. You guys approach this cavern that is none too far off from where you're standing. It's kind of funny because for you guys, it's like a little bit of a walk. It takes like 5-10 minutes to like get from that platform to there because you have to like walk all the way to the end, go down, and you're very much in like the layer of like giants for all intents and purposes. So, it takes a while for me to get anywhere. Guys, do you know how hard it is to find boards on the internet that are dragon-sized? Where like it makes sense for just dragons would like hang out with each other and it's not human-sized? It's messed up. But this board's incredible, in my opinion. So anyway, you guys get there and you see these similarly copper dragonborns. They look to be paladins and downed and in good armor. And they sort of like look at you as you go by. And as they do, they say, "You enter in the dwellings of Tazmakella. Greet her with the proper respect, for she is really cool." Yeah, that's all they'll say. They'll just say, they'll say, "As you enter, regard her with proper respect for her age and kind. Your silence spells are difficult to understand."
Say, of course, naturally.
Naturally. All right. So, like, have a good time, I guess, Just take care.
Yellow will bend the knee and bow to the dragon.
Like, oh, okay, whoa. Oh, the dragon. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm just the guard. And yeah, they let you go in. You five enter within. Here is the dwelling of the great dragon. As you walk in, it's maybe not exactly what you expected. This isn't their lair by any sense of the word. Far too small for a dragon of this size. But the dwelling is filled with couches.
There's couches.
There's couches. There's a fireplace. There's like fine like goods and cool like swords from lands you've never seen before. Card games and mostly people. There's like some old wizards. There's like an old wizard over there and like a younger wizard. And they're kind of like talking, but like. Be like, well, that's whatever thinks that prestidigitation is good for just like street magic, and they're just like talking about stuff. You'll see that there's some like some exotic dancers over there by like this big plush bed. Lots of books. You see there's this one very well dressed woman who's like looking at this like little area. It's like a little painting art piece area, and she goes over to this like chest and pulls out another one, like looks at the wall. You can sense she's like some kind of artist curator, but basically an accumulation of very interesting, like fun things, and more importantly, fun and interesting people. As a number of bards stand around the fire and play lutes at each other. Goes, oh, that's a good one. Let's try this one. But you do see, of course, most importantly, the brownish coppery form with little bits of blue tones intermingled is the great and large form laying on a bed of like lush leaves and crystals, just sort of like relaxed and laid across her, like looks around at all of her people, sees you all enter, and her face kind of goes a little like she's like, okay. Very clearly like an exterior of like unfriendliness. She says, my friends, leave us. No. Oh, of course. They all sort of nod and very quickly she isn't that she isn't that like much of a dick. She'll be like my friends, if you can give us lights, and we'll actually be kind of kind to the people around. They will vacate the way, even the belly dancers.
Aw.
Aww. Star
Yeah,
was
they
like
like
memorized. He was just like watching them, and then he's like, "Oh,
they're all doing this. It's like, "Could you guys watch?" They go, "Okay," and then they like pick up the like a pile of clothing, and they all like run out together, and they like run by you guys. They're like, "Hi," and they like run out. And you may approach the great dragon, who sort of like looks at you. It's a reptilian face, but there's definitely a lot of expression, and you don't get an air of great friendliness from this particular creature. Sort of looks at you all and says, "So, you're dragons." Looks around at all of you and looks at you, Star, and goes, "I've heard of you.
Oh yeah, you've heard of me?
Oh no.
For a person in your line of work, I'm surprised that you're so happy to hear this."
Whoa, you mean oh.
"Where's the other one? They speak of one coated in blood who is expert at killing her own kind, or their own kind. Where's that one? I saw it at the original council outside."
They're not here.
No,
Oh, you're
no.
speaking of
You're good.
you're speaking of Shroud.
Yes, and I've heard of that one as well. A great and famous slaughterer of humanoid kind. What a great person to keep. I expect when that is all you do is go here and there and kill fellow humanoids.
Well, we don't only kill fellow humanoids and
Arr.
stuff.
No, you do more than that. And looks at Uciel and goes, "You steal, don't you?"
You mean the egg?
Egg?
I guess not. What would I steal?
Oh, that's right. I had forgotten. Otila Carnos did tell me of your companion. You harbor an evil dragon.
Yes.
How interesting for one who claims to slay them with such ferocity.
We're
So because we have to. It's them with their life or ours.
we're,
So, like,
we're hoping there
looks-
can be a change for this black dragon. Its nature can be nurtured out.
I've spent a great deal of time living amongst your kind. I have a great fondness for humans, as you can clearly see. But I have reservations about your various factions. As much as I have great love for the humans, I know that they can be cunning. Thieves, fast-talking swindlers more than once have betrayed my trust. I fear what might happen if one or more of your faction displays similar attributes towards the metallic dragons and demonstrates loyalty to Tiamat. For it is mostly humanoids who worship and venerate her in return, is it not? So who's to say that one of your great factions doesn't decide that They want to be on the right side of things when the apocalypse comes.
Well,
If I may,
Yes, of
I,
course.
it sounds and certainly appears like you do have like take a great interest in and maybe even have a small fondness for um humanoids. And I'm sure during your vast experience with them, you've realized that there's a great spectrum of humanoid behavior and lifestyle. Now, here in this particular group, for instance, which I've only just recently joined myself, we do have somewhat of a thief. We do have one who raises an evil dragon. We also have a very pious cleric who just this morning held a very moving sermon and um, converted um, a wayward kobold to a kinder way so that he could live and serve with humans. So, in this particular instance, we're not necessarily here to convince anyone, even ourselves, that we all live um, honorable lifestyles. It's more that in this particular case, we are brought together. Some very different people who normally would not spend time together are brought together for a much greater purpose that supersedes um, any of our personal individual qualities.
This is fair. I recognize that you have brought in, for example, the Black Network, a band of mercenaries, but everyone knows murderers and assassins and such. I understand the need for exceptionally morally unique individuals in times of great disaster. I understand this. I understand disaster quite well. And over my ancient lifetime, I have seen much, including the disastrous consequences of unrestricted access between humanoids and humans. The Draco Rage mythal serves as a reminder of this to anyone. Do you know of the story of Draco Rage mythal? I look upon you all here and see young races. Anyone who wishes to roll history.
Yeah.
19.
19.
I know for a fact
Hey.
Starman know it.
That 20. 27.
1927.
I got an 8. I do not know the story.
You do not. I will say anyone who rolled above a 15 would be aware, like, you don't know the full story, but basically, this big spell or something was cast that essentially sent all of Dragonkind, anything of the dragon creature class, metallic, chromatic,
Gem.
wyvern, pseudo dragon, didn't matter. It sent them into a mad slaughtering rage. Every single dragon, including the one you speak to right now, despite their will or want. And it was devastating. It was a devastating, and you can only imagine the trauma upon metallic dragons who are good and wish to protect and do good, and they were sort of forced to slaughter and murder against their will because of humanoid magic. It eyeballs you again, Ciela.
CL will just look back intently, not like aggressively or anything, just keep the gaze.
Your apprehension is not unwarranted. And we will deeply consider all of your concerns. How do you think it's likely that there could be a spy on our council?
spy?
Somebody who has
Other allegiances.
ulterior motives concerning the cult of the dragon.
I don't see why not.
I'm a representative for the humanoids, but I know I cannot speak for all of them. But what I do know is the cult of the dragon is my enemy. And I am their enemy. So no matter how this works out, if we end up coming out of this with an alliance, I consider you a friend.
You I like. Perhaps once all this is done, you might join my merry band, travelers. As I said, I like humans quite a lot. They never fail to impress, always doing this or that. Never really had a holy man following me around, but I like your heart. I will warn you, Protanther does not like humans very much, not like I. But there are matters that me and Protanther do agree upon, such as the fact that the metallic dragons should probably strike out against the chromatic dragons by ourselves. However, I am convinced that we would not succeed. Having humanoid allies would reduce casualties for both sides, so I'm willing to give you the opportunity to prove your good nature. Looks at you again, Ciela. Ma, you look just like you.
Who?
Your ancestor. The one who took that trident from my horde.
Ciela will take it out and hold it in her hands and look at it. This was stolen from you.
Yes, it was. I knew I recognized you. How interesting to find that you were raising the dragon. I wonder if you're much the same disposition of your ancestor or not.
If this is
A
yours,
family heirloom.
if this is yours, it's not a family heirloom. If this is yours, I assume you want it back. Ciela will step forward and lay the trident at the dragon's feet and back away slowly.
Sort of like tilts her head back a little, surprised, frankly. Like, how quick you are to discard the heirlooms of your family for what is right.
Stolen goods are stolen goods. Just as the wealth of Greenest was stolen by the dragon cult, we returned that to their people, even though we could have used it. And this trident belongs to you. And even though it's an heirloom of my family, it was stolen. And because it was stolen, it now belongs to you again.
Your family should have been human. It's always unpredictable, but always interesting. Looks at you, Star, and says, "You,
Yep.
murderer."
Really not, though. Yeah.
Perhaps you might learn something from your companion of morality.
What am I gonna learn from?
Sort of groan and say, "You I do not like, and you will hold my eye. But you," points to you, Ciel. "I was uncertain of bringing you all here, even from the beginning. But perhaps, at the very least, I will not stand in your way if the other counselors decide that you are worthy. You've earned my neutrality between us as a family."
Okay.
May I just apologize for my family? I'm sorry that we stole this from you.
You may. You
I'm very
impress me
sorry.
so. Hmm. Well, very well. As I said, I'm impressed enough that I will not. I don't know if I'm ready to support your cause yet, but as I said, the other counselors are willing to look well upon you. I will not stand in their way.
Thank you.
Now send in my dancers on the way out, if you don't mind.
With pleasure.
Of
They are
course.
quite lovely.
Yes, they are. And as you leave, you're like, "All right, guys, you're good." And they're like, "Okay." They all like go back inside, and the music continues, and the copper dragon sort of like bounces her head around, listening to the music, and you do get the sense that there is like a lightness and a love for um, humankind, specifically humankind. Um, and having left this first meeting, I want everyone to roll, or anyone who I'll say anyone proficient or above in insight may roll
Is there in which?
insight.
Proficient?
Insight.
Yeah,
Not
anyone
proficient.
anyone proficient or more, anyone proficient or expertise may roll insight.
God, no, not
Okay.
Star.
Damn, Sabrosa.
19.
28.
Yeah, I will say Sabrosa. You didn't speak much in the conversation, and perhaps it's because you were studying how the dragon is, how it relates to the other excuse me, how the other dragons, how this is all going to work. And what you come to understand is that every dragon here probably has the power to veto an alliance with you guys. Every single one of the five. If someone doesn't like you enough and everyone else is totally on board, they will not go with you. Which means that everyone at the very least needs to like not be ready to stop this alliance at the very least. But you do recognize that like there's probably a level of they're wise enough and long-sighted enough that they can not like you but not stand in the way, or even like you but not be certain enough to not stand in the way. But you will need the genuine like support of at least a couple of these dragons moving forward, and that's what you understand. Is that every one of them can veto. So if even one of them is ready to veto you, you're done. But you're going to need a couple of them who are like firmly on board to be able to gain these influence. How many? You're not sure. More the better, of course.
I
Okay.
mean, presumably we already have one.
Presumably. And to be clear about this dragon, I'll add that in there for pretty much anyone who rolled like a 15 or above. As she said, she's not like on board for you guys. She's like, if the other counselors want to support you guys, I'm not going to stand in the way. So she's not supporting you, but she's also not going to stand against you.
And that's all we can ask for.
Yep. You impressed her enough to get her that way. Okay. You exit this particular cavern in a boat. What happens next?
We're on to the next one. I think the next one was the brass dragon?
Bronze.
Yes.
Bronze. Was it bronze? Bronze then brass?
Yeah, bronze. Yeah, you guys look up like a dragon-sized, not naturally, but a dragon-sized form staircase, and you'll see a number of brass dragonborn defending another cavern. This is entirely unnecessary what I'm doing because you just left, but it makes me feel good. Yeah, you guys wander up there, and the copper dragonborn sort of like give you a nod, maybe a little impressed that went very well. Make your way up the stone side, almost like literally climbing up the side. And these bronze dragonborn are going to look at you all and say, "Come to speak with Nimmer, have you?"
Yes, we
Yes.
have.
Choose your words wisely. You may like your kind, but just choose your words wisely. That's all.
Okay.
You wander into the cavern, and you're going to see the biome very strangely becomes almost tropical. Not in a heat as well. Like you're up in the cold mountains, and you step into here, and it becomes very sort of like a little humid, almost not sauna-y, but there's definitely like a larger heater element of some kind. And you also see a large, well, actually, you just kind of walk up, you walk and see all the water and continue upward, trying to find the dragon until you hear shifting to the left. And you see the dragon's head sort of peek, sort of out of this massive pool of water and kind of through the water towards all of your direction. Um, ah, got really deep right there. And is going to climb up onto the ledge. Yes, Sabrosa.
Yeah. So this is obviously, as you've already acknowledged, kind of like Sabrosa's thing is like trying to read conversational social cues,
Yeah.
influence people, etc. But clearly these are dragons and they're ancient and they're wise and they're smart and they don't behave quite the same way. And Sabrosa specializes in humans. But I guess I want to just like passively kind of keep my ear out for anything that like I might catch, like the way a certain word is emphasized or,
Okay.
meaning, or, maybe you did mention something earlier about the previous one, being kind of like facially expressive. So facial expressions, if those are readable, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I'm
Got
I'm
it.
happy to call out instances where I think of it to be like, hey, what did that mean? But if I don't get it, I'd like to
Yeah.
like kind of keep my passives on high alert.
Got it. Because I know you and Terrence both have expertise in insight. So it's a good point. I'll try and keep a mind out for passive insight stuff. But why don't you roll me an initial insight check then, Suko? So just to see what the initial tone of the conversation.
Oh, that was a nat 20 for a 31.
31. This dragon sort of shifts through the water, sort of climbs up onto like the edge of the pool, and then kind of lazily sort of like lays on the edge, the tail sort of dangling down, and looks at you all. You definitely see like an expression um, that is like kind of like interested to see you all, maybe a little bit of a grin. You get the sense this person isn't like your best friend, like isn't friendly towards you guys necessarily, like doesn't know you, is fairly neutral in that regard. Much like the last dragon said, like I won't give you my support, but I will give you my neutrality. Similarly, this dragon seems to be kind of not sure of you guys yet. A little neutral. We'll see if it gets better. Is kind of the approach of this dragon, and the sort of like lazily laying down kind of gives that, where it's like they're not like on alert. They're not like this. He's not, ready to go at you guys for whatever reason. He's just kind of getting ready to see what happens. And I'll give you one last tidbit because you rolled very well. This is Nimmer. Oh, I put it up there. That's why.
Mimmer.
Nimmer, Nymmurh. Nimmer. Nimmer, yeah, just looks at you kind of neutrally and speaks and says, heroes, heroes of mortal kind. I've heard much of your tales. How interesting to meet you. How surprising. Well, how delightful to hear of your good deeds.
We do our best, and compliments to this lush oasis you've cultivated.
Oh, this is not what I This was Protanther. It is his lair that we lay with.
Oh.
So homage be paid to the host.
Of course.
I am interested to see you all. Normally, I would be ecstatic about joining your council. I very much stand in opposition to the feelings of Clementor. Clementor, who is deeply cautious of an alliance with him, if downright unfriendly towards it. But I have my own reservations. I have been led to believe that you have harboring in your very midst a kin to our enemy. Dragon of black scales. Is this a rumor?
It's true.
True. I admit, normally I was prepared to make this alliance. In fact, I was the one who proposed it and fought for it, that you'd come here and prove yourselves. Now, I find myself neither here nor there after receiving this.
Because of our association with the dragon.
Indeed. You see, we metallic dragons, we are built in the image of Bahamut, the platinum dragon, the good god of lawfulness and protection, and we have no choice in the matter of good or evil. It is within our very nature to fight back against oppression and tyranny and evil and all these things. I look upon those of you of the mortal races who are willing to do good. It is precious. It is an important thing because you choose it freely. How am I to turn my back on such things? It worries me that that good nature is turned against itself for the sake of something evil.
I can understand that. In fact, a lot of people have questioned the motives of Lyragoth, our black dragon. But she's different. She has a sort of temperance to her where she will pause instead of react entirely on her instinct. She is loyal as a group because we're stronger together. And I believe that with nurture, her nature can change.
And this is exactly what worries me. Such goodness you have in your hearts. I need to protect, much like Bahamut himself. But even Bahamut recognizes when there are those who should not be protected. You say that this one has a good nature, to have raised it up and is different than all the rest. I have met many of the Black Ilk. They are cruel, greatly cruel, poison in their heart, much like I am shaped like Bahamut. Good is in my very soul. Evil is within hers. And you know this.
A purely evil dragon would have left us all to die months ago. Yet she has risked her own life to save ours. And that does not seem to me that it would be within the best interests of a black dragon to protect humanoids, which they would see as beneath them.
I did not come here to brand words about the worthiness of your Drake. I did not come here to be educated by someone who has not even seen 100 years of life.
I apologize.
I know my enemy. I know of your kind, and I know of theirs, and I know of the gods. You hold your opinions in high esteem. This is not a bad thing. But I know what I know of my enemy. And for this, I will not stand in your way, for I have people in Waterdeep, the Silverheld family. remains very sacred to me. I hold great affection for that family and for their protection, and so I will not stand in your way in this council. I cannot give you my support.
I'm sorry, did you say Summerhelm family?
Yes. And Sabrosa, yes, you might note that in the first council of war, or the first, or actually, no, you wouldn't note it, you never met her, but the rest of you did indeed meet Dala Summerhelm, who told you of,
Was she the one where her husband got murdered?
no, that was Romalia Haventry, who was like the leader of the Harbors. This was the woman who sort of came in and was like, I can't tell you why, but I know Macatha Crimson is up north. This is probably why.
Actually, was that someone that I think in my first session, Terrence might have contacted her, or she contacted him?
I think she
I
was
think I have
brought
that
up
name
in.
written down.
I
she was
think that
brought
was
up.
when I was sending sendings after we escaped
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Snake Temple
So-
and Borsker Bridge.
So Sabrosa
Yeah.
did pick up on that. I specifically captured that.
Nice. He says, your factions include the Harpers, the Order of the Gauntlets. I see that there are some of you who pay homage to that faction. It is to my belief that they epitomize the best traits in all of humanoid kind. They are those who should be aspired to. And I have great respect for those of you who call yourself members of those factions. And for all of these reasons, I remain neutral. I cannot give you my support. Not to those who harbor the enemy of the Tyranny of Dragons.
I understand. I would like to add one more thing. Perhaps a more practical reasoning as to why we keep such company and what kind of benefits it can offer. It's no secret that Lyragoth can sometimes have selfish tendencies, but hopefully, once we become a little more prominent and this war comes to a head, if we can turn the tide of the war, maybe some of these chromatic dragons will see ours as an example and see their side as a losing cause. Even if it is for selfish reasons.
Perhaps. Make no mistake, I am aware of how manipulation works. Even someone of brutal tendency who likes to play with their food, who hates all of the dragons, can be steered in a direction. But the problem is, there comes a time when the dragon realize they are powerful enough. They do not need dragons. I warn you caution. And that is all I can do this time.
We will heed your warning.
Dragon will bring itself to its full gargantuan height and descend back into the watery pool behind, and will sort of dwell there.
Okay, off to the next
We
one.
should move on.
Teal is uncharacteristically quiet.
Not even a single cocksucker?
No, it's more of a fuck me moment.
Got it. Yeah, you gained a lot of benefits from that dragon, but, you know, price to be paid at the same time. Yes, you guys can then. Oh no, you're not supposed to be up there. Hide. you can't be in two places at once. Yeah, you guys can. The guys at the door will be like, yeah, you want the closest. You already been to see Tasmakella. Yeah, if you want to go see Ilmuthra, the brass dragon, you're just gonna like go down the stairs and hang a right. And you guys can indeed hang a right. You will indeed come to a cavern that is not like steamily hot like the last one, where it was like sort of like a nice temperature. You feel like very much like a volcanic heat coming from the door, even as you approach it like a wall. And those brass dragons there will say, "You come to meet with Iliuthra, then. He is expecting."
Good. We won't keep him waiting.
Very well. And we'll just sort of like gesture for you guys to head on in. Let's see here. You walk in to see like a very large cavern system where the dragon in question is right there. Again, it's very hot in here, and you see definitely like literal volcanic elements inside that are like bubbling lava, and you guys are like very quickly finding yourself sweating, even up on this high mountaintop.
Burning
And as
hot magma.
magma, and you will find your way over to the perch where the great brass dragon Iliuthra dwells.
Making a mental note. Star is a cat and covered in fur. He's probably panting.
All right. You approach. I'll tell you what. The guys at the doors would have been like, "Pay him due respect, for he is the traveler of knowledge. They say he even dwells with the god of knowledge. So go with great respects." And indeed, as you go forth to see these dragons, once we're done this conversation, I'll post you some images of some of the dragons you've seen. But in this moment, you will see Iliuthra, representative of all brass dragons in the Sword Coast, who will look down at you all and say, "Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, come inside. I hope it's not too smoldering for you."
We'll manage.
"I detest the cold, but if it is more to your liking, we could step outside."
It's okay.
Yeah. Yes, please be comfortable. We've recently come from a very cold place ourselves, and we're happy to.
Very well. Good to hear. Looks at you all and says, "So, let us speak then. Let us see if we can come to something promising."
We were
Well,
told.
oh,
Go ahead.
No,
We
you
were
can go.
told. We were told on the way in, that you're quite the patron of knowledge and information. Is that
It's true. Yes, yes. I have long traveled the plains, all the plains, in search of knowledge and even more challenging games.
That is fascinating. I suppose it has little to do with this particular meeting, but it is very interesting to me personally.
Well, when trying to persuade someone, it's always good to butter them up. I understand. Sort of
He
smiles
at
like,
him. Yeah.
yeah, smiles a
She
little
smiles back at
mischievously.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Terrence, you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to ask of Iliuthra, is it?
Yes.
What would you like to see in an alliance? What would you like to come of that?
I have been a student of knowledge for a long time. If there's one thing I've learned about knowledge, is that it is a thing that is neither here nor there. It simply is what it is, and I find myself with the disposition of that which I pursue. I have a new precognitive sense of what might be the best course. I am much more willing to hear all sides of the discussion and make an informed opinion once I have met and treated with all sides. I see the lesser races. I see from their long civilizations, or I've seen from long centuries of across the plains, and I understand that every individual humanoid possesses the potential for both good and evil in equal measure. It is difficult to decide. I will weigh all options. Even the cult itself, even those members within, perhaps there is good amongst them, though mostly evil, perhaps. This is less of a case of deciding whether you are worthy to aid, and more deciding whether all of you, specifically, can be trusted to properly lead the factions ahead. Do you think yourselves capable of this?
In possibly, in your opinion, what might that entail? What would signal a great leader for this time?
Goodness, I expect. Goodness. If you were to deal with the metallic dragons, humility. Funny to bring up, considering your kind. You are named for humility someday. Human, humanoid. This is what I would ask, I think. It is to my belief that these dragon masks I've heard so much, I believe them to be one of each kind of chroma. If they were to be granted to we at the end of this war, that would be quite a sign of greater wisdom and humility, for I believe these masks far too dangerous to remain on this plane, far too dangerous to remain close to the hands of humanoid creatures who so often can turn to evil just as well as good. At the end of the war, or at any point, I would ask these dangerous masks be handed over to wiser metallics, handed over to us as soon as they are found or after the final battles. If you would be willing to do this, hand over these dangerous relics to be hidden away on the plains where they cannot be touched by humanoids, I would be willing to support you, support your cause.
I believe it would be safer in the care of a benevolent dragon as opposed to a humanoid who can be swayed so easily to their deepest desires.
You seem to know much of these masks.
Yes, some. There is one for each kind of chroma. They grant the wearer the power of that particular chroma. A black dragon mask might grant acid resistance, for example, much like the dragon itself, and certainly provides the ability to persuade chromas, influence them easy. Of course, a similar kind. A red dragon mask would allow the wearer to commune with red dragons with greater ease. So all these masks, in the possession of humanoids, have great influence over chroma dragon kind. And with that, the power to turn evil against the world.
Terrence, hasn't the group had some exposure to these masks prior to this?
Yes.
Briefly, yes.
So it's not something that's beyond the purview or capability of the group to potentially collect these and make such a promise.
The problem is, Star just picks up, is that the last time we dealt with, we've seen two of these masks, right? Well,
No, we've seen one.
We've seen one. The other one we were looking for and never came across.
yeah. So if I remember correctly, that first mask, it disappeared after so and so died. The purple lady.
Nesmir, yeah. Resmir,
Yeah.
sorry.
I have no doubt that the cult of the dragon is wise enough to place certain protections on such a valuable relic. It is possible that a failsafe was installed to ensure that if ever the wearer of that mask fell, it could be protected somehow. Perhaps this is why it vanished in the first place.
We
But I
do
have no
know.
doubt. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We do know the Black Mask is lost or stolen. It's not in the possession of who was supposed to hold it in the cult.
Or perhaps someone new.
And that can
Be,
go either way.
be that as it may, I'd say that we're at least already partially started on the path to securing these masks.
Indeed, something tells me that these masks are at the heart of their plots. Though there is great power within them, together, well, I can only imagine what they could all do together. So by the end of this, I imagine they shall become available. And as I've said, if you are willing to grant this concession to assure metallic dragonkind that these masks will be turned over to us as soon as they are found or after the final battles of the war, you would have my support in this council.
Do
I
any of
am
us have any objections?
I'm willing to commit to that. Any masks that we come across.
As am I.
Well, if this is the consensus of your group, and you, as ambassadors and representatives of your Council of Waterdeep, make this concession and assurance to metallic dragonkind officially hereforth, then I support you, and my voice will call for alliance in the final moot.
We deeply appreciate your support.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, if you wish, you may exit. You have gained the neutrality of 2 dragons and the official support of 1. You have also a concession that you must inform the council of when you return. This is within your power to do, to make assurances on their behalf, but you must inform them when you return. We'll see if they will enjoy the news or not.
Are we to assume we also have the support of Terra Lacarnos?
Paralacarnos, who is that?
The silver. The one we
silver.
flew in on.
Tara Lacarnos. Make me an insight check, because you've traveled with her for some days.
Yeah. I mean, she made the effort to come down there.
Yep.
That is 12 plus 6. 28.
28. You think that she is neutral? She was sort of playing the role of ambassador. She had told you she was an emissary and not like a counselor. She never told you. She told you specifically. She lied that she was an emissary, and now has revealed herself the representative of Silver Dragons.
You could be both.
You can be both at the same time. That's right. But during your travels, you've definitely gotten a sense of like justice from her, a want to protect, but you never got a sense of like earnest support. They weren't like they've got to support you. You know what I mean? There wasn't like a deep passion to support you guys. There was like they're anxious to see what you have to say, which is sort of a very neutral stance, but nothing that was like overtly in support.
Okay.
Let's go
Who
see
should
her
speak to
next.
her next? Uh, Did I put someone on the layer of backside? I did. Okay. You will travel all the way across the map for a good 20
This is
minutes.
Pretenter.
Oh, she's one of them? We could have had this talk on the way here.
Yeah, like I said, she lied about being just an emissary. Um,
Dora is still
but yeah,
sweating and losing like fur after leaving that hot place.
yeah. But no, this is Ortira Lacarnos. This is the silver dragon you rode on, yes. You approach the doors, and the silver dragons there just kind of give you all a nod as you walk through the silver dragonborns. As you enter, you walk into probably the most stunning of the various caverns you've seen. There's a massive boar roasting over a fire, and at the back of the room, you see a huge altar of like a single-headed dragon god who you expect might be this Bahamut god that has been spoken of previously, with mounds of treasure at the altar and dedication. For such vain creatures, this is a great homage to pay, considering that she has not brought her own horn. And you see her sort of imposing upon the rest, almost like on a throne. You make your way over, and she says, "Hello, my friends. I hope things are going well with the other counselors."
I
Hello
think
again.
as well as to be expected.
Certainly.
You didn't tell us you were a counselor as well.
No, I must apologize for the deception. I wanted to get my measure before we came. As an emissary, I felt and was right that you would speak more and ask more questions, more freely, not knowing of who I was. It allowed me to get a better sense of you and your counselors.
Understandable.
It's a very admirable strategy. Do, do you think that you benefited from it?
I think so. I do believe so.
Well, that's good to hear. So,
Much, yes.
in that instance, then it sounds like you believe you have somewhat of a candid insight, at least a limited one, to who we are and to what we feel and believe. Something that we couldn't or wouldn't necessarily put on for you in uh, a known interview like this.
Hmm. Indeed, indeed. Well, then let me begin, I suppose, and make more clear my stance on things so that we might better have our debates. I, as you may recall, I have said here and there, I do not believe any of you are absolutely good or bad. I'm aware that some of you are come back from paradise to fight this horrific war, self-sacrificing at the most deepest level. More that some of you have murdered for no better reason than a couple of coins. But these things are not absolute, for even that great one of you has committed great violence, and the other has fought dragonkind for the betterment of all. Nothing is absolute. But clearly, you need protection and guidance, and should be shown Bahamut's right way of living rather than ignoring, well, for us anyway, ignoring and treating you as children to be ignored. If we refuse to engage with all of your kind, humanoid kind, and focus only on our advancements, you will persist in making the same mistakes again and again, for you are not long lived and only have history to learn upon, which is not always the best tutor. Experience teaches greater than others. I have faith in the potential of humanoids, and she has a faith in the potential of humanoids. But there are many of you who have done great evil. There are many of you who have been callous in the past to dragons. There are no dwarves amongst you, but I wonder if any of you have heard of the dragon moot. You may roll a
What?
history check if anyone of you would like to know what a history or a dragon moot is.
The dragon
Dragon
meat?
mead?
No, dragon moot.
Dragon
Moot.
moot.
Yep, dragon
16,
moot.
I will try rolling for it, but I'm pretty bad at history.
but you are reliable.
You are reliable, but she
But
is probably not proficient.
I'm
Oh.
not proficient in history.
17.
17,
16.
16.
I have a -1 in freaking history.
So do
Four.
I.
4.
Stars like, and everybody else, Erebir maybe is asleep in her, with Star or Shroud. But the rest of you, Terrence, Sabrosa, and Ciela, will know for sure what a dragon mood is. Centuries before the modern day, there was these dragon moods where dwarves would basically call for great dragon hunts, and they would go out to prove their might and their worth to dwarf kind. And they did not discriminate. They killed chromatics, they killed metallics, they killed young, they killed old. It was indiscriminate, and they killed for the glory of their house, and for no other reason than that. And also, of course, to acquire valuable scales and parts and pieces to make armor and fascinating weapons and arms and armaments with. So it was very much an attack on dragonkind for glory's sake.
I'm terribly sorry.
It's not your faults. These are not your ancestors that you must apologize for. Humans have done no such thing, my kind. But these dwarves have. Metallic dragons could strike now, but I do not know if we could succeed alone. An alliance would reduce casualties for your kind and for my kind, and that works well for me. So allow me to cut to the chase for all of you. If you want my support in the Dragon Route, I would wish you to go to the dwarves, and I would want you to recover the skin of my slain kin. I have a niece who was killed in one of these dragon roots, and her skin was taken to be crafted into a suit of armor. Imagine if your brother, or your sister, or your father, or your mother was killed and they're skinned to make armor. For satisfaction. I demand these remains be returned, this suit of armor and then the other parts of my ancestor to be returned, and that your Ambassador Brown Anvil, who represents Dwarvenkind on your council, make an apology on behalf of all dwarves for the wrongful deaths of the Dragonmoot. If you can assure me this concession, if you can go to the dwarves and demand this of them, you will have my support.
I think we can do that. We can't guarantee that they'll respond in kind, but we will advocate for you. Everything in our power.
You are ambassadors of this council. I expect assurance. Here and now, your promise is as good as theirs. For that is the power of any diplomat. If you can assure me these things will be done and done in haste, you will have my support. If you have anything else to offer, I am willing to listen, but this is what I hold passionate.
I think that's a fair deal, Terrence. We are as oh yeah, the long name, as Elia pointed out. We are in the world of politics and negotiation now. And if it means that we have to arrive at some sort of leverage, then perhaps that's what we have to do in order to make the alliance work.
I will also pipe in that I do have an ally with the dwarves. I can't find his name right now, which is really upsetting. He might give us a favor in this situation and try to fix this.
We can certainly push for it and remind the dwarves that sometimes we have to give up things that we like to get help that we need,
Yes.
and that this is more important that you receive back your kin, parts of your kin, in exchange for, or than it is for him to have armor, which he could easily replace with something else.
We will make this right.
Is this a promise? You will make the dwarves do this as your power of diplomats and leaders of your council. You will assure me this apology on the returns of my ancestors.
We will let them know they have no choice in the matter.
If they want to remain on the council, that's what they'll do.
Yeah. Brings me no small amount of relief in small ways. Justice, such is the way of Bahamut. This is partially why I asked for this concession. It brings me personal closure to have this returned to me. But it is justice within your humanoid kind that will mean much. So thank you. And you have my support. You will have this alliance if I have my say.
And thank you.
And she will give you the name. It is a Lord Gurgorn Darkpast. This is the dwarf who owns the armor. Lord Geargorn, Gry, Gorn, Gorn.
Well,
Lord Geargorn.
Luckily, it's not my ally.
Geargorn.
Lord Geargorn
Darkpast?
Darkpast, that's right.
Oh, I wonder why he's called that.
Because he's walking around in a skin suit.
You think he's got a dark past?
That's right, he's walking around in a skin suit. Got it. Yeah, it was her niece. So it wasn't. So my apologies. It wasn't her ancestor. It was her niece. So it was like a child of her brother or sister, which is terrible, which is horrific. Okay. And with that, you seem to have gained the confidence of Aratalakarnos. Man, after 10 times, it's starting to get easier. You exit. There is but one more dragon to meet with.
Oh, good.
Big Gold.
You want to go talk to Big Gold?
Talk to Big Gold.
Yeah.
Big Goldie.
You
Should
walk
be
to
able
the
to
cavern.
wrap this right up. Then he seems
Gold
open
Nugget
to it.
Daddy.
Yeah, this one will go well, right?
Yeah, he likes the
cave.
humans.
Yeah, he loves the humans. You walk up to the big dragon, Proanther, and he will, and the golden dragonborns will see you all come. They stand very, resolutely, very formally, like an honor guard. The other ones were watching the cave and keeping an eye out, and leaning against the wall. Maybe some of them. Other ones were a little bit more formal, but these ones stand with the respective attention of the honor guard of a great king. And as you pass by, they do not regard you, not in disrespect, but they have a duty, and they will not falter it. And it gives that sort of prominence that you enter into this cave. This cave is a little different. You wander into here where you see the great gold dragon at the back of the room, sitting at a dragon-sized lecture, where there is a book. And you see that up on the shelf, on the side, there are shelves of books, one after the other. And you walk by these stores of knowledge to this once great king. He's a king no longer, but he once was known as the King of Justice, and this is his domain. There's not as much stuff here as maybe as you expected for an ancient dragon, but perhaps the true hoard is somewhere else, or perhaps some of the hoard has been removed, with an understanding that untrustworthy folk may be on his doorstep. And it very much so for Sabrosa and Terrence, that's what you get out of it. There's very much there is some stuff, there's some wonderful stuff, and to everyone else, they're like, oh, this is great. But to you guys, you're like, this is not worthy of an ancient dragon. There's a very immediate air of distrust.
Okay.
That's fair.
You all approach, and the dragon turns towards all of you. Aravir, are you present?
Is off. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to see if you're around because this might be important to you, this next one. Okay. The dragon turns to you all and looks at you all. And it just kind of is quiet. Kind of, there's like this scoff is like comes out of his nose. And he says, so, speeches then, sort of returns to his book.
Yes, we've spoken to the other council members. I think things have gone favorably so far. So I feel we should cut to the chase. Every minute we waste, more lives die. So we are here to seek an alliance, and clearly you have reservations. How can we quell them?
Reservations. Of course, I have reservations. It's not even so much reservations, it's more to the fact that I simply do not care for your kind. Humanoids. Particularly your kind, human.
That's fair.
There is good and bad in lesser races. I am no fool. I understand the difference. I believe that there is a capacity for attaining great power, despite the physical limitations of your kind, but that makes you dangerous. For all of your capabilities, you have little time to learn wisdom to direct those capabilities. And for that reason, you are hard to control, anticipate. And more than that, you destroy yourselves. He turns from his book and he says, look at the long and unending list of human civilizations that have crumbled under wicked powers, as you humans have dealt so often with sinister forces for the sake of that. Demons, higher magics, Carsus's folly. The cycle of failed human civilizations across Faerun is a quintessential sign of your flawed nature. Moreover, you make up the majority of evil archmages and liches, including Sam Master. Oh, I see you do not know the name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyone can roll a history check, see if they do know the name of Sam Master.
Sand Blaster?
Sam Aster.
Oh, okay.
Natural 20
Jam.
for a total of 19.
I
makes
Jam
sense.
Master.
I got 11.
I got 2.
2.
Oh,
Ciela. Oh, so Rosa.
14.
14. You alone, Ciela, will know that Sam Master is the name of the founder of the cult of the dragon, who was indeed a human. He says, Sam Master. Sazastam, who I will just carry it over for the sake of carrying it over. Ciela, you know that is the evil, immortal Lich King of the Red Wizards of Then. Who was once a human as well. Even the current leader of the Cult of the Dragons, Severin, is a human. And the majority of the Cult of the Dragon is human also, so what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to have any cults of your kind?
Well, as obviously everything that you've mentioned is true. However, as the other dragons have pointed out on our way here, humans are, and as is not in conflict with what you just said, humans are industrious. We do need to be shown. It would certainly benefit humankind to have better interaction with metallic dragons.
I do agree. I do agree. that humanoids are short-lived and need to be tutored. I agree. But there is humanoid races amongst you that are a little older. You see, I can appreciate the crimes of humanoids because they mostly direct them against each other. And they're also so short-lived, which means they may not even be recognizing their own evils. You may not even recognize your own. I have heard that some amongst you are even murderers. But the elves, and he will look at you, Aravir. The elves, however, they live for long and possess great knowledge. How have they used that knowledge? Oh, wait. I recall. I recall because I myself was victim to it. They have used that knowledge to the detriment of my kind in the past. It was the elves who shaped the magic of the Dracorage Mithril, sending all dragons across Faerun into an uncontrollable rage. I myself slaughtered droves of humanoid in my own kind because of elven evil. So tell me of your merits. Tell me of your humanoid inclination to learn. Tell me these things. Tell me of your merit that makes all these things right.
I don't know that there's a merit that makes it right. I do believe that there's a willingness to do better and to perhaps reconcile. Just now we were speaking to Elia, and she mentioned that there had been a terrible personal slight done to her family by the dwarves. And so this group before you, has made a promise to assist her in righting that wrong. Is there some way that we could make a similar showing to you regarding the elf?
As it stands, I see very little good reason to allow this council to convene and allow this alliance. But humanoids destroy themselves so very much. So perhaps why not let them destroy themselves against the swords of the dragon called your own king? There is some way I might be willing to not, at the very least, stand in the way of my kind, if the other councillors can be convinced. I would be amused to see a formal apology for one who speaks for Elvenkind for the abomination that was the Dracorage myth. If you could go to your king, Melindrook, and insist upon him that he must apologize for all of his kind in history for such a abomination, that alone might be amusing enough for me to not stand in the way of my fellow counselors. The amusement of their bending of their pride might be enough to allow me that.
If any
We
of us could
understand.
convince the king, it would be Aravir.
Yes, I am interested to hear from the one with royal blood in her veins. Can't hear you, Aravir.
This better?
Can't hear you. You're too
Better?
quiet.
No, I'm trying. Is this better?
Yeah,
That is
there you
better.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
The sin of the few shouldn't fault the of the many. But I will go to my father and I will try to convince him to speak on behalf of the many. But again, it wasn't all of elves that did that to you.
No. No, that will not do. I don't care to have your king convinced. I am not asking. If you want me to stand out of the way, of this alliance. I demand this apology. I demand this acknowledgement of their abhorrence, of the elves' arrogance. I demand that they confess their foolishness before me. You can give me that, assure me that in confidence, as ambassadors and leaders of your council. I will not stand in the way of this alliance.
If that's what we need to do, then that's what'll be done.
Good. It will be interesting to see a great king so arrogant in his knowledge to kneel before me and prostrate. He'll huff another sort of steam of flame, sort of like at you and Terrence and Aravir. Now leave. I do not wish to speak to you kindly while our business is done. And he'll turn back to his lectern.
Right? Jello will back out.
I think we all do.
I'll take one step over and say, you know what? I have one more thing to say.
Dragon.
I'm not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I speak not as a member of the council, but as a human. What you say about us is true. We're short-lived, unpredictable, and constantly squabbling. It's not always a good look, but I don't come from royal bloods. I don't come from a perspective on a grander scale. I come from a small farming town. Everyone I knew growing up was just a simple farmer living a simple life. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the dragon cult attacking my village. And that put me on the path I am today. That put me right here before you. So judge me not based on my species, but based on my actions and based on my words. I will fight the dragon cult for as long as it takes, with your assistance or not.
Right.
I hope we have your help, but I will move forward regardless. And then I'll turn around and catch up with the rest of the party.
Turn around, you leave. He does not speak after you. It is a little like, as you speak to him, he doesn't like fully turn to speak to you like he did like when he was telling you about how awful you are. He sort of like points in that direction. He kind of like turned his head over as to hear your words. It's difficult to gauge if your words reached him. It is difficult to persuade a creature of hundreds of years of opinion who thinks so little of you. But
Well,
you have made
hopefully
your
someone
point.
who once called himself the King of Justice would hear my
Indeed.
words.
Indeed. Indeed, the King of Justice, and certainly a creature wise enough to recognize good in you. And you are here. you are fighting. And I will say that much for your passive insight. Despite all of his anger for humanoid kind, you get the sense he would not have given this audience just any human. And your words do meet, and your actions meet more, perhaps. And with that, the night grows long, you all grow weary, and you have all had your peace with the various dragons. One of these gold actually, there will be two dragon gold. No, just one. There'll be one gold dragonborn waiting outside the cave for you all and says, "It's been to my understanding that you have spoken to each of the dragon counselors, and it grows late. I was sent by the suit of armor you travel with to show you to your stay. Are you ready to bed down for the evening? I've been told to tell you that there will be a final dragon meeting, a final meeting between the Council of Metallics in the morning to decide."
Excellent. Yes, it's getting late. We should get rested.
Very well, follow me. Gold Dragonborn, Paladin, you assume, much like the rest, will lead you all to a cave near towards the front, which is, your host is Chromanthor, and you get the sense, and his hospitality is about the same as his opinion of you all. It's a kind of a hot room. There's like a lava element off in the corner. There is like a small. There's no like watering pool of any kind. And the bedding is like a pile of leaves. You get the sense this would be like a very nice steading for a dragon. But no accommodations for humanoids have been left in here. You can probably go sleep in like the grass and the leaves up on the perch and be quite comfortable. But this certainly is not a space that has been made for humanoids. You don't sense like hate from Chromanthor for these accommodations, but just disregard, just general disregard.
I mean, I can make a temple of the gods.
But you can make a temple of the gods. Again, it's comfortable in here, but at the best, your temple would certainly be better. If you wish, spend an hour at prayer to Chantia. A tower that fits into the cavern pops up, and you guys can all get a long rest if that's what you wish to do. Is there anything you'd like to speak on before the council tomorrow morning? No? That's okay if it's a no. Totally okay. All right. Shroud apparently is just like not my thing, and is just gonna sit this one out. And you guys will be escorted by gold dragonborns who guard over your steading to the very, very opposite end, by coincidence or not. This like large platform on the edge of the mountain peak, where the other dragons have gathered to meet for this final decision. Give me a second while I replace Chromanthor's kid with Chromanthor. There we go. Yeah, I set up this shot. You know that I worked hard for this shot right here. Oh, yeah.
Good.
Oh,
Nicely done.
Oh, yeah. Spread you out a little bit. You all come before these mighty dragons as they gather for one last time, at least for your sake, it seems, to determine if an alliance is to be formed or not. You approach, and the dragons who are sort of like laying about and speaking in Draconic, as you draw closer, the Draconic ceases at about the time you turn the corner, and many of the dragons sort of turn and rise or sit up, or only like rise on their front legs, but sort of sit in a more formal presentary manner. All of the many dragons are gathered here to make their final judgments. Protanther speaks. Fellow dragons, representatives of metallic kind, it is time to decide if we will stand and fly and breed alongside the humanoids. They have come to each of you. They have made their concessions. They have made their speeches. It'll be for you to decide if they have proven themselves worthy of this alliance, if their leadership is enough. Before we proceed, I will give you humanoids one last opportunity to make general concessions or speeches or whatever you have in your pockets. Try and convince perhaps some of us who remain unready for this alliance. So, this is your final chance before we decide if we will stand with you or not. Speak.
We have a common enemy against whom we're all headed anyway, whether with or without each other. A number of us have acknowledged that if we were to bind together, the casualties on each side would probably be lessened. Similarly, there were a number of requests that some of you had of a personal or philosophical nature, with which we have expressed that we would be happy to help. That being said, as we've spoken of quite extensively over the last day, humanoids are not long-lived, and we change frequently. There is an element of chaos, and that all means that this alliance doesn't have to last forever. We're merely requesting an allegiance against this particular current threat. If we don't, if humanoids in an alliance with us doesn't meet your tastes following this endeavor, clearly you're capable of going back to your own existence and of shirking any interaction with humanoids for as long as you please.
Your words ring well in the ears of, let's see here. You see Eleuthera, the brass dragon, sort of like nods curiously, kind of like taking what you have to say, and is interested. Your words are interesting, and being that dragon of knowledge, is taking in every point, every piece of knowledge. Ortiak Kalarnos, the silver dragon, Nimur, the bronze dragon, who has friends in Waterdeep, in Taz Metallica, those three dragons all sort of like ardently seem to like shake their heads and like seem to engage with your words. And I'm gonna sidebar apologize that there isn't a lot of charisma checks for this one. These dragons are not judging you based on your power of personality, but by your actions, as Terrence, you so well put it. Just to put that up. There was a nod from the gold dragon towards you, Sabrosa, as if to say, like, your words are heard. And then looks broadly, see if anyone else has anything to say, any other concessions, anything else. You are ambassadors to the Council of Waterdeep. You're muted. Sorry.
We have spoken with all of you and made our position clear. We feel an alliance is not only beneficial to both of us, but I feel necessary in reducing bloodshed for both the humanoids and the dragons. Even if you don't like us or respect us, know that we are still stronger together.
More nods, especially from some of these dragons who have spoke of their love of humanoid kind, the need to protect and guide them. Frankly, which I believe is like every dragon except Chromancer. Just sort of like They acknowledge that. They nod at the humility and simplicity of your the request, guidance, protection, helping one another. They all resound. Comantor nods at you and says, "Your words are heard. Next, if any." None then. Very well. Council of Dragons, Metallics, ancient and respected. Now is the time to decide if we walk with the humanoids. Let us begin. Ilmuthra, Dragon of Brass, Seeker of Knowledge. You will see Ilmuthra sort of turns to face leader of this council. He says, "Speak of your feelings. Should this alliance commence, where do you stand, Great Dragon?" Ilmuthra says, "As I have always said, I would take knowledge, stock, word of each side of the argument before making a final decision. I have heard your words, Romantha, and I have heard the words of everyone else in this council. And I have heard the words of these heroes before us. They have agreed to turn over the dragon masks once found, so they may be placed in the hands of those better suited. They have humility, Romantha. They have a knowledge of what is right. And as they have assured me of this, they have my support. I, as representative of all brass dragons, support an alliance with the humanoids. It should and can be done." Comanther nods, excuse me. He says, "O Tarlacarnus," the silver dragon turns, "you have spent the most time with these humanoids these last couple of days. You, who have such deep faith to Bahamut, our godly denizen, and the enemy of Tyranny, what is it that you feel of this alliance?" Otarlacarnos speaks. He says, "It must be the way of the metallic dragons, us wiser and more powerful, to guide the small folk, protect them. They are not children to be discarded on the side of the road. They are not beyond reason or help. I have seen it in these ones here. They have agreed on behalf of the dwarves to return the remains of my slain kin and secure an apology from dwarven kind for the dragon meat. For this, they have proven themselves capable of seeing justice. As difficult as it is to exact, they have seen that it shall be done. And they have proven themselves in disposition worthy enough to demand this of dwarven kind, those so stubborn. For these reasons, humanoids and dragons should fight alongside each other. You have my alliance." She turns back as Comanther nods and says, "Very well. Lemur, bronze dragon, speak now of your feelings." The brass dragon in 4 turns, most warlike of many. He says, "We know of good and evil. We know they are capable of both. And we know that they do not have Bahamut's will to guide them. It is in our souls. But it is not theirs. And their good should be protected. But as for forming alliances with humanoids, I cannot agree so long as they harbor evil dragons. I do not hold or stand against them. I do not have animosity against them. They are good, if naive. I have no stance. The bronze dragons stand with this council. If this council will fight, so shall the bronze. But we give neither our alliance or word of help nor our disdain. We remain neutral here now. Promanther nods. And you see, like, very immediately, Terrence and Sabro says, these are little things. They're such ancient beings. So it takes a great insight to see, but there is surprise from Promanther that this dragon does not support you. It was, perhaps to him, he was the one that he expected to be on your side. And he's like, I see. I see that these humanoids then have not proven themselves as you all thought that they might. I am sorry your hopes were dashed, Nimue. But let us continue. Kaz McKellar, representative of Copper Dragons Hall. Tell us now, what is your mind? She says, I've always loved humans, interesting creatures. Indeed, uncertain, difficult to see what they are going to do here or there. They're swindlers and thieves most cunning. They are betrayers, but they are also good. They are also capable of putting justice, goodwill, humility before these things. They have returned to me a relic most precious from my past that was stolen and became an heirloom of one of their families. I am impressed by them. Very impressed. But it is unfortunate. I cannot give my support. I can only give my neutrality. Not when so many of dark dealings lay with them, and indeed, being accompanied by such a nemesis of us. It's too much. The Coppers remain neutral. We will not agree nor disagree to this alliance. We stand with the Council. Protanther speaks. I see, Kaz McKellar. Then the answer is clear. You all know my stance when it comes to the humanoids. They have assured me the apology from the elves of the Draco Ridge. This will be interesting enough to earn my neutrality, but I certainly will not support this on such a small thing. I remain neutral. 2 in support, 3 neutral. This is not enough. Metallic dragons will not war with you. I think Ortolacarnos says, hold now. Wait. Perhaps there is some final concession they can think of on behalf of their humanoid kind that might be able to persuade us differently. Protanther sort of rolls his eyes. The other dragons sort of like nod in affirmation. He sees this and he goes, well, let us entertain this for some small amount longer. Humanoids, is there any final concession on behalf of your kind that you could possibly make to convince perhaps even one more of us that this alliance is worthy? If not, then our just reasoning stands. No alliance shall form. Speak now if you have concessions to possibly make up for your shortcomings.
So, it sounds to me we have people, dragons, that are still apprehensive about the company we keep, specifically Lyragoth, the black dragon that our party has raised. You have very rigid ideas on good and evil, and perhaps it's true. Is there any way we can convince you that this dragon can be rehabilitated beyond its nature to gain your support.
The gold dragon says, how little you seem to understand. You claim that it is us who is wrong for our thoughts. Some of us do not support you because you hold ilk in your company. Your concession is that you wish to continue try and stand by this creature. I have expected you to offer its head, but no, you still hold by this creature of evil.
Ciela actually begins
Yes.
to tear up a little bit.
Yes, we do, because that is who we are. We are true to what we believe. Sometimes we're wrong. We don't have the wisdom of ages, but our beliefs are rooted
You did yourself.
in hope and in a better future. And so we do choose to believe that this is possible. And as long as we believe that it's possible, we're also relatively persistent. We're not willing to give up on a battle we've not yet lost.
It is not just to be good, but to have the potential to be good.
I will say, Nimur the Bronze Dragon says, it is not enough. Even if you could somehow convince us that this dragon has turned its heart to good, which has never happened in history. Even if you brought it its head, what is the death or kindness of one child dragon? And Ortia Lacarno says, an apology from all dwarven kind, an apology from all elven kind, the retrieval of an ancient and stolen relic. These are the concessions we've asked you, and you promised us the fate of one young dragon?
Well, obviously you would have those concessions as well.
One dragon, but she does represent a hope that wasn't there before.
Paranther openly laughs. And I think Tazmakella will just sort of like shake their head, disappointed. And I think, the brass is just staying quiet. They don't care. Atora Lacarnos says, of course we expect the other concessions. Point being, this concession you offer us, this obsession you have with your dragon, it is not something we care about. It speaks to your character. We don't care about the dragon itself. We have learned all we need to learn of you from the presence of your dragon in this party. Killing it or rehabilitating it, as you put it, doesn't change your disposition towards it. If you wish to make reparations or concessions, they must be better than that, the fate of one small dragon. It was but a blip, a henchman in this war. I think maybe trying to help you out a little bit more, Nuthra the Brass will say, you are leaders of your Council of Waterdeep. You have diplomatic powers over all of the leaders of your Sword Coast. Is there nothing you can offer us more than this?
Well, what are you looking for? Is there something that is amiss that we have not known about?
Are there treasures you desire? Are there apologies to be had? Rights to be wronged? Or wrongs to be righted?
Maybe an insight check, Terrence.
That will be 31.
31. I want you to make a persuasion check on top.
Oh,
15.
15. You mention wealth, and despite themselves, you see some change in the look of Tasmatelica. All of them sort of like react to wealth. And Tasmatelica's eyes sort of like kind of like perk up. You recall, Terrence, the very basic thing that all dragons share is they are vain creatures. They are wealth-driven creatures. The accumulation of their hoard is precious to them. And with your persuasion check, yeah, Tasmatelica says, "Wealth, you say? Do you? It's a good point. Does your Council of Waterdeep not intend to divvy up all of the hoarded loot that will be found eventually once you defeat the Dragon Cult, all of the spoils they have accumulated over the last year?"
Presumably.
yes, I can confirm that.
Ortilicatarnos says there is 11 factions, and Tasmatelica will take over and say, "If you promise Dragonkind to even split that gold, I could be convinced. Change my vote. Make it 12 ways, and make one of those ways for us."
I see no problem with that.
I think that is a fair proposal for your assistance in this fight.
Protanther looks like visibly like it's kind of going his way. Tasmatelica says, "Well then, having secured wealth for the dragons who will survive this war, we coppers," and it is worth saying that a slight change of things. Tasmatelica would say, "I would wish a share for copper dragonkind." Would be not for dragonkind, for copper dragonkind. He says, "Well then, for copper dragons, if the copper dragons are going to receive a fraction of this wealth, then my kind would be more willing to stand with this war. You are certain of this concession? You are willing to assure me this in a promise, that my kind, copper dragons, will receive an even share?"
Yes.
I think that's more than fair.
Yeah.
Then I will give my support for this alliance. I, Tasmatelica, on behalf of all copper dragons, see this alliance through. You see expressions change, very much the energy changes around the group, where even Nimmer, the bronze dragon who was neutral, you see a little bit of little upbeat. You get the sense that Nimmer didn't want to not support you guys, but had to reason it out for his own kind, what he thought was best. But the other dragons sort of perk up and sort of roll their shoulders and raise their heads up high. And Protanther sort of looks around and says, "Recounselors, a majority vote. I may be the leader of this council, and I do not support this alliance, but I do not stand in its way either. And as Nimur, you do not stand in its way either, presumably." Nimur sort of shakes his great dragon head. Protanther says, "Then it is the will of Metallic's dragons to stand alongside humanoids in the war to come for these concessions. If these concessions indeed are failed to be delivered, then Metallic dragons will have a bone to pick with kind, or simply will not have support. It is on you, ambassadors, to have made these promises, and we shall see if your kind is willing enough to go through with them. But as of now, these consolations have been made. We dragons will take it on the honor of Bahamut that they will be seen through, and our dragons, the might of dragonkind, stands with humanoid kind. We go to war! And the dragons, all in unison, will let out this draconic roar that will rattle the mountains as they let out the war cry. The dragons will go to have secured alliance with metallic kind, and that is where we'll end the session.
Yay.
Yay!
Good
Yay.
job, guys. Man, I wasn't keeping track of who was like neutral and friendly, and then